Chapter 506. Since that's the case, I'll give you a chance. Gu Chensha waved his hand, and two talismans entered Wang Qingzhu and Meng Yinyan's bodies. This is an ancient curse. If you have any ulterior motives, activate it immediately. Banish the immortals, and you'll end up like Ba Jiufeng. Of course, he wouldn't let go of Wang Qingzhu and Meng Yinyan just like that. Otherwise, the two of them would harbor resentment and try to take revenge at any time. In order to properly manage the mystic Dao sect, one had to use both kindness and authority. Blindly appeasing them was akin to nurturing evil. Any prince would learn this from a young age. Everyone landed. Wang Qingzhu and Meng Yinyan looked at each other. Only now did they sense the might of the celestial commerce department. The two of you should immediately suppress the formation core of the illusory chess islands and circulate your magic power. If you're the slightest bit slow and His Highness blames you again, the punishment won't be the same. Jin Suebua led the two of them to suppress the formation core. The two of them had suffered a great loss, so they naturally couldn't face their fellow Taoists. They obediently followed Jin Suebua and landed at the two key points of the islands. Then, Jin Suebua sent Ba Jiufeng's talisman into the third eye. Rumble. The islands within hundreds of thousands of kilometers seemed to come to life. Three enormous dragons of magic power condensed in the sky, then dove into the depths of the sea, covering the entire islands. Boundless spiritual energy surged into the islands, and a defensive formation began to activate. The various palaces and pagodas on the islands began to shine with light. A sect with two undying bodies and an expert of all things returned to one would be able to absorb vital energy and condense it. It would definitely operate very quickly. It was important to note that the three experts had given up on their own cultivation in order to focus on hard labor. This kind of efficiency was simply too high. Thump! At this time, Ba Jiufeng knelt down and begged bitterly, Your Highness, I know I was wrong. Let me recover my cultivation. I don't want to be an ordinary person. How could it be so easy? Gu Chensha snorted coldly. Your cultivation is so high, so you should know that the immortals banishing the immortals are irreversible. Once all your magic power and cultivation are extracted, there's basically no way to recover. The methods of the calm immortal department are heaven-defying. I have turned over a new leaf. Ba Jiufeng wept bitterly. He had lost all of his cultivation base and magic power, and his temperament was no different from that of an ordinary person. Turning over a new leaf is not a matter of words, but actions. Gu Chensha said, Go to China, teach disciples, cultivate talents, pray every day, use your sincerity to move the heavens, and maybe you'll have a chance. Enough, he gem and peak. In the immortal Tao, the weak are prey to the strong. The immortal calmness department's attack has swept through the profound sects of the immortal Tao, and no one can stop it. You don't know the general situation, and you don't understand the heavens. It's normal for you to suffer such a tribulation. If you continue to babble on, I'll immediately collect your soul and refine it in the devilish flames every day. You'll beg for death, but you won't be able to. This man was actually Hong Wending. He was originally a disciple of mysterious state school, but someone plotted against him and he was banished to the demon region. However, he had a fortuitous encounter and survived. When Gu Chensha was in the demon region, he took the initiative to side with him. Now, he was the top general under Jin Suebua. He was vicious and merciless, and he did many things. Zhuge had been keeping an eye on this person. He felt like there was a strong existence behind this person. He didn't really want to join the immortal calmness department, but he could make use of him. This person was an expert at Dao Realm 23 transformation past reflection, and he was a rare talent. Until now, this person didn't have any flaws, and he didn't do anything to harm the immortal calmness department. Instead, he made many contributions. Hong Wending, your cultivation has improved recently, and it seems like you're about to break through to 24 transformations. Gu Chensha praised him. It is all because I followed the immortal calmness department and activated my luck. Hong Wending bowed in fear and trepidation. He was also frightened by Gu Chencha's methods. That day, when Gu Chansha and Lu Baiwe entered the demon region, they found it tough to kill the skeleton demon emperor at 23 transformations. The skeleton demon emperor was still at the fine dust technique grade. Now, with a wave of his hand, Gu Chansha was able to suppress 2 experts at 25 transformations, Undying Body, and 1 expert at 26 transformations, 10,000 techniques, return to 1. He was able to casually play with them in his palms. His strength increased by more than 100 times. So, Jean Suebwa had already flown back. He hollered, "Gather up and listen to His Royal Highness's words. In the past, our Celestial Tao Alliance was really loose, and when the calamity came, it would be tough for us to fight back. Now, we have to train like an army and we can't relax. Gather up." Under Jean Suebwa's hollered, these Celestial Tao mystic sect experts were nervous and didn't dare to disobey. They immediately gathered in the plaza in the middle, similar to an army. That's right. This was the effect Gu Qinsha wanted. If he hadn't used his tyrannical methods to suppress the 3 sect masters, these cultivators and immortals wouldn't have been so well behaved. Reporting to His Royal Highness, our Immortal Calmness Department's Celestial Tao Alliance has a total of 2,341 sections. After the gathering, Jean Subor reported like a general in an army. Right now, there are 1,852 sect masters gathered here. Among them, 320 have cultivated dermic powers, 550 have cultivated golden core and size manipulation, and the rest are all 9 transformations glass J body and 17 transformations cultivators. What about the others? Gu Chunsha asked. The other sect masters didn't come due to various matters, Jean Suebwa reported. Have there been any cases of people refusing to pay taxes recently? Gu Chunsha asked. With so many Celestial Tao mystic sects, there would definitely be all sorts of schemes and plots. There are hundreds of sects that refuse to pay taxes, and we haven't cleaned them up yet. Gu Chunsha said, the other sects that haven't joined the alliance will have to pay taxes in the future, and they will also have to pay fines, so those that join now won't lose out. When the sect masters of the mysterious Immortal Tao sects heard this, they all whispered and discussed with each other. Silence! Jean Suebor roared, and immediately, these sect masters didn't dare to move. They all quietened down, and just like that, their prestige was established. Very good. Those that can stand here today are all lucky. In the future, you will have to move your sects here and gather as one. Gu Qinsha said, our calming Immortal Department's Immortal Tao Alliance has to be united. Only then can we resist the calamity. Of course, I know that your mountain sects have been operating for many years. Moving them here would be a great loss of wealth, but our calming Immortal Department can create all of these. Gu Qinsha wanted to unite these Celestial Tao mystic sects. Right now, there were 1,852 sect leaders of the profound Immortal Tao sects here. The number was huge, and it was also quite impressive. Including their disciples, if they were all gathered together, there would probably be a huge pile of people. If these people moved to Illusion Chess Islands and gradually built, they would become a huge sect. With this as the foundation, they would be able to form a brand new Celestial Tao structure on the ocean and stop the Great Might Dynasty's invasion. Furthermore, if these people were to construct altars here and swear oaths, their powers would be channeled into the depths of the sphere, causing the power of the sphere to increase significantly. Hong Wending stood at the side, and as he listened to Gu Qinsha's lecture, his heart was in turmoil. He naturally knew what Gu Qinsha wanted to do. After this Celestial Tao Alliance was established, it would become more and more cohesive. Heavenly Tao changes, stars move, celestial spirits open, altar established. At this moment, Gu Qinsha's body suddenly moved. A total of 360 doppelgangers flew out and stood in the illusionary chess archipelago. Rumble. He used a secret technique. He communicated with the stars in the sky. Immediately, the power of the stars descended from the sky above the ocean. Then, spiritual chi, immortal chi, and all sorts of other energies came with the power of the stars. As they mixed, they turned into a jade-like substance that looked like ancient bronze. It descended and poured into the sea between the islands. The seawater boiled. When some of the creatures in the sea came into contact with the bronze jade substance, they immediately perked up, as if they had gained spirituality and intelligence. They swam around in the water, as if worshipping something. Jean Suebwa. Hong Wending sensed that the creatures in the sea also gave off weak waves of wish power. Azure Dragon Pagoda. Gu Qinsha truly displayed his terrifying side. He used his own strength to overturn the heavens and earth, forcibly using the great massacre god art's unparalleled profundities. He opened up various dimensions, absorbing energy, combining it, and transforming it. Rumble. Countless energies gathered, and a loud sound exploded in the air. Gradually, they condensed into a substance. This substance changed, and wind and fire surged. Finally, it condensed into a huge bronze ancient pagoda, suppressing the center of the illusion chess islands. The surrounding earth veins were all suppressed. In the sea, countless spirit veins moved and finally entered this pagoda. This method is too strong. All the experts of the celestial Tao mystic sect were shocked. Even Hong Wending's heart was filled with great terror. After 7 days and 7 nights, Gu Qinsha finally stopped. The illusory chess archipelago, with a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers, had changed drastically. Chapter 507. Gu Qinsha was very confident. He would build this sect on the sea, turning it into a tiny divine central continent that was about 100 times smaller. With this change, it would resonate with the divine central continent and erupt with the greatest power. The divine central continent's structure contained countless secrets. If he could comprehend them, he would not be far from transcending. Xing Qiongshir's strongest divine ability was the divine central continent's grand magic, which he had comprehended himself. There were 99 layers to it, each layer deeper than the one before. Gu Qinsha did not know about this cultivation method, and Xing Qiongshir had not taught it to him. Your Highness's method is simply seizing the good fortune of heaven and earth. It is profound and unfathomable, Hong Wending praised. Once this divine central continent is established, it will have some sort of connection with the true divine central continent. Not only can we use this place to deduce the mysteries of the divine central continent, but we can also develop it. It will possess vast fate, and the resources and minerals in the sea far surpass those in the continent. Many of our immortal Tao profound sects will gather here and modify it. In just a few more decades, we will be able to form a large and stable faction. That is natural. Next is to train the various sect leaders. In this divine central continent, they will be divided into 99 regions and become governors. The Immortal Tao Alliance will operate like the Imperial Court. That is the best structure. Gu Qinsha already had a plan in mind. Your Highness, don't worry. I know what to do. Once this divine central continent is established, with the newly constructed Azure Biochemical Dragon Pagoda in the middle, we can gather power to provide power for the common people's wish sphere instead of consuming it. By the time we're ready, the peerless heavenly scripture will most likely appear. Jean Suebwa had long since understood Gu Qinsha's intentions. His current intelligence could not compare to Gu Qinsha's, so he was doing his best to learn. Capturing the peerless heavenly book is our #1 mission. This is also the biggest mission I have come here for. Of course, unifying the immortal Tao profound sects is also a necessary process. After that, we will unify the oaths and wishes and strengthen the sphere's power. This is no small matter. Gu Qinsha understood that Jing Xiu had established the Sama Holy Empire in the desert. He had created his own language, culture, doctrines, and beliefs. He had created handmade products and expanded his territory. This was the heart of all ages. Naturally, he did not want to be inferior to others, so he created the illusory chess archipelago with a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles on the sea into a small divine land. He planned to migrate all the people from the second and third-rate mystical sects to this place and build a civilization that combined the immortal Tao and the secular world. If this method was successful, his cultivation would definitely improve. It would be very beneficial for him to comprehend the 23 transformations, past reflection. Furthermore, he could also use the vow force and the true meaning of creation to resist the heavenly Tao's call and obtain the strongest power. Suebwa, go and arrange the sect leaders of the mysterious immortal Tao sects in each of the 99 prefectures of the small divine prefecture. At the same time, ask them to summon their disciples here. There are still relatively few people here. Gu Qinsha said, "This place is far from the central plains, and the sea is even more dangerous. Unless one has cultivated a golden core or magic power, even a cultivator of the Tao Realm 9 transformations would need several months to fly here. They would also need to stop and rest in between, and they would also need ships to rest. If we use the Vow Sphere to tier space and teleport, it will consume too much energy. The gains do not make up for the losses. I can understand the difficulties of the Great Wei dynasty. It is simply too far to attack the central plains. After we capture the peerless heavenly tome, we can use the foundation within to teleport." Jean Suebwa said, "Actually, Your Highness, by using your supreme power, you can actually convert the living creatures in the sea to worship the world's wish sphere and generate wish power. This is no small matter. We can also train the aquatic creatures to have spirituality, and they won't be much worse than humans." Hong Wending suggested, "This is also one of my plans. I will pass down a scroll of the Great People's Salvation Scripture." Gu Chunsha said, "This is a combination of the Maha Hell Suppression Scripture, the Buddhist Scripture of Salvation, the 10,000 Beasts Human Transformation Scripture, and many other secret techniques. Once you learn this scripture, you can chant it and spread it into the bottom of the sea. All the living beings in the sea will be attracted to it and listen to it. Because of this, they will comprehend many things and develop their intelligence and spirituality. As time passes, it is not strange for them to take human form. Your Highness is proficient in all kinds of techniques. This is simply unimaginable." Jean Suebwa was extremely shocked. Gu Qinsha was proficient in too many techniques and divine arts. If his memories were poured into the sea of consciousness of any expert who wasn't a god, that expert sea of consciousness would shatter. It would be impossible for them to accept it. Only a god could store these vast memories, experiences, and techniques into his own world. Also, when these headmasters cultivate, I can slowly teach them the Dragon Nurturing Heart Sutra. Let them pour the Dragon Nurturing Chi into the Azure Dragon Pagoda that I have built. This way, the power of the pagoda will gradually increase. As time passes, it will become a good artifact. The Azure Dragon Pagoda that Gu Chunsha had built was actually a temporary creation. It was only used to suppress communication. It was equivalent to an altar. In the future, to gradually improve it, it would need countless people to nurture and create it, including this land of the little divine prefecture. After discussing for a while, Jean Suebwa wanted to lead the 1,852 headmasters to occupy the 99 territories. He divided them into formations so that they could cultivate, condense, communicate, and nurture living beings. At the same time, he would teach them Gu Qinsha's Great People's Salvation Scripture. The meaning of great was Maha, and Maha meant greatness. Common people were his own Tao. The so-called Common People Heaven Mending Technique and Common People Heaven Reforming Technique both use common people as their foundations. Salvation was the essence of Buddhism. Transforming into a human was the profound meaning of the heaven demon transforming painting. Combining the essence of these techniques, Gu Chunsha created this technique. It was not for attacking and killing, but mainly for defense, enlightenment, and transforming people. With his scripture as a foundation, he could create a foundation on the sea. The number of living beings in the sea far exceeded that of the land. There were billions of fishes in the sea. If he could activate even 1/10,000th of the wisdom of the living beings in the sea, and make them pray and swear, the common people's wish sphere would probably rise to an unimaginable level. These were the methods that had been prepared for the ages. Compared to Jing Xiu's Sama Holy Empire, it was a level deeper. Hong Wending wanted to follow Jin Suebua, but Gu Chunsha called him back. Hong Wending, stay here. I have something to ask you. Yes. Hong Wending's expression was uncertain. Facing the unfathomable Gu Chunsha, he felt uneasy. Come, let's go to the center of this lesser divine province, to the azure dragon tower that I built. Gu Chunsha called out to him and flew up. Hong Wending didn't dare to refuse, so he naturally followed behind. When they reached the top floor of the azure dragon tower, Gu Chunsha looked at the surrounding scenery and the lesser divine province that he had created. The azure dragon tower is located in the center of the divine province, in the bottomless sea of sin. Since ancient times, it has been connected to the demon realm, and the devil calamity broke out from there. You are also from the devil prison. What do you think of this devil calamity? The tranquil immortal department will definitely be able to resist the devil calamity. You will be able to rise in the midst of the calamity and achieve unparalleled hegemony, Hong Wending said respectfully. You also have many comrades in the demon realm. They were all demoted into the demon realm. Every cultivator definitely has the ability to kill and is unparalleled in battle. Can you bring them out and make them a part of this lesser divine province? What do you think? Gu Chunsha asked. This? Hong Wending hesitated. There are many comrades in the demon realm. However, those who were demoted into the demon realm and were able to survive are all vicious and unruly. Moreover, they're all extremely powerful. How can I command them? That's true. Gu Chunsha nodded. However, I heard that those demoted cultivators in the demon realm have formed an alliance and are ruled by an extremely powerful person. Brother Wending, do you know the secret of that powerful person? This subordinate does not know. The demon realm is endless and is divided into countless dimensions and worlds. It has been immeasurable since ancient times. Could it be a force from another demon realm? Hong Wending shook his head. Is that so? Gu Chunsha smiled. I know that Brother Wending is a capable subordinate of the Celestial Master. The Celestial Master is a woman. In the demon realm, even the demon saint is extremely afraid of her. It is rumored that her cultivation is unfathomable. What you have seen is only the identity of the Celestial Master. You have never seen the Celestial Master's true body, right? Hong Wending seemed to have seen the most terrifying thing in the world. How do you know about the Celestial Master? Don't harm me, don't harm me. Even with his current cultivation, he had lost his composure. I have already secretly peeped into all of Brother Wending's memories. However, my methods are brilliant, and Brother Wending is unable to sense it. Moreover, in your memories, the memories of the Celestial Master are very vague. It is obvious that there is an extremely profound method to deceive the heavens and set up a restriction. Fortunately, my methods are not weak. Even the Celestial Master cannot scheme against me. Therefore, I have peeped into a part of your secrets. What do you think? Gu Chunsha revealed this secret this time because he did not want any variables to occur to Hong Wending. Moreover, he was very curious about the Celestial Master. I did not expect Prince's methods to be so brilliant. I can say that even if a god peeped into my memories, he would not be able to see the Celestial Master. Hong Wending was still a little fearful. Now that your highness knows my secret, please kill me immediately. Oh, you are not even afraid of death. You are actually afraid of the Celestial Master? Gu Chunsha was a little curious. The Celestial Master's methods are definitely not something we can imagine. After betraying the Celestial Master, it is impossible for you to die even if you want to. The Celestial Master has already comprehended the absolute secrets of life and death. She is the true Celestial Master, Hong Wending said fiercely. Oh, that is not necessarily true. Could she be more powerful than the three great Celestial Masters? Gu Chunsha smiled and said, I have obtained the memories of many ancient sages. However, I have never heard of a person called the Celestial Master. Chapter 508. To be able to make a 23 transformation past reflection expert afraid to such a degree that Celestial Lord is really strong. Moreover, in Hong Wending's memory, that Celestial Lord is just a name and the back view of a girl. He doesn't even have a face. It is obvious that a supreme technique has covered his memory, such that even I can't see it clearly. This girl is really indiscernible. Gu Qinsha kept silent for a while. Hong Wending was prepared to die and didn't hope that Gu Qinsha would let him off. What he didn't expect was for Gu Qinsha to speak after a long while. Since that is the case, then I won't make things difficult for you. Go do what you need to do. You are actually willing to let me off? Hong Wending was really shocked. Our calming celestial department rewards and punishes clearly. Although you are a spy sent by the Celestial Lord, you have followed us for so long and have done many things. To date, you haven't done anything bad, so why should I kill you? Gu Qinsha waved his hands. The reason why I dealt with Wang Qingzhu, Meng Yinun, and Ba Jufeng is because the three of them have high statuses in the second and third grade sections. Their cultivation is really deep, and they can hide their power. To unify the Celestial Tao Alliance, we can only use them as an example. Only then will many sects surrender, and it will be beneficial to the big picture. There is no benefit in killing you, and instead, we will offend that mysterious Celestial Lord. What is the point? You are a talent. And so what if you're not tired? Now you have value. My calming celestial department accepts all talents. As long as you are talented, we will take you in. Moreover, I have created this small god continent, and its foundations are shallow. I need experts like you to manage it. It is really simple. As long as you don't cause trouble, you will be rewarded for your contributions and punished for causing trouble. Calming Celestial Department really has clear rules. I am impressed. Only then did Hong Wending calm down. Since that is the case, then go. Gu Qinsha waved his hands. Hong Wending bowed deeply and left the Tsung Biochemical Dragon Tower to manage this small god continent. If a 23 transformation expert is used to manage and build things, he can have huge profits. How many people can he feed? It is just such a waste to just fight and kill. Gu Qinsha looked at Hong Wending's back view, and naturally, he had his own plans. The true meaning of his common people mending heaven technique was that if the heavenly Tao was lacking, common people would mend it. From his point of view, after the cultivation of magical arts became powerful, the main goal was naturally longevity, followed by construction and making up for the deficiencies. Instead of fighting and slaughtering, making a name for oneself, now, many immortal Tao mysterious sects' thoughts and ideals were already distorted. The goal of cultivation was to defeat opponents, kill enemies. He looked out. In the small divine land with a circumference of hundreds of thousands of miles, even the tiny grains of sand, the fish in the water, the worms in the fish's stomach, and the tiny wriggling of flesh and blood, all appeared in his ocean of consciousness easily. There was a Tao Realm 9 Transformations Glass Jade Body Sect leader who used his Xiantian Gangqi to cut down the reefs on the sea outside of the small divine province. Then he carved a formation and piled them up from the sea, creating a fishing ground that was about 10 miles wide. Then he flew into the distant sea and used his Xiantian Gangqi to form a huge net. He caught many broken-boned fish and fed them in his fishing ground. Then he sat down and started chanting. The scripture he was chanting was naturally the Great People's Salvation Scripture. This scripture was mixed by Gu Qinsha. Not only could it open up the intelligence of the living beings in the sea, but it could also open up one's intelligence, strengthen one's mind, and strengthen one's foundations. After all, he used the Maha Hell Suppression Scripture, Common People Mending Heaven Technique, Common People Heaven Reforming Technique, Universal Salvation Scripture, 10,000 Monster Human Transformation Scripture as a unified cultivation technique. It was suitable for the 1,852 Celestial Path sect leaders to cultivate in. Gu Qinsha remembered that this Tao Realm 9 Transformations Glass J-Body sect leader created a sect called Dingping Sect. The sect was really small, and there were less than 1,000 service disciples. This could be considered a 5th or 6th grade sect. Of course, there were many such sects in the celestial path. Once the Tao realm 9 transformations glass jade body was cultivated, one's lifespan would be 200 to 300 years. One could totally establish a sect and build a small sect. The Dingping sect leader worked diligently. First, he built the fishery and caught the broken bone fish. Then, he chanted the scripture, causing the broken bone fish to have a bit of intelligence. At least, they listened to him and gave him some orders. Many broken bone fish dived into the deep sea. After several hours, they actually caught a monkey with white hair all over its body like a zombie. It had no flesh or blood, only bones, and was only half the height of an ordinary person. Sea monkey? Gu Qinsha recognized it. This sea monkey was a sea animal that was similar to an ape. It was a ferocious overlord in the deep sea. It had sharp teeth and moved like the wind. Its claws could easily crush hard reefs. Even a 9 transformations cultivator would find it hard to catch it in the deep sea. However, it couldn't handle a school of broken bone fish. After the Dingping sect leader obtained this sea monkey, he first healed its injuries. Then, he brainwashed it with scriptures and taught it the path of qi refinement cultivation and martial arts, making it stronger. Then, he let the sea monkey into the sea. About a day later, the sea monkey actually brought dozens of similar sea monkeys ashore. Quite methodical. Gu Qinsha looked at his operation and nodded. Now, there were only 1,852 people in this small China. Compared to the continent on the sea that spanned dozens of miles, it was a pitiful number. Of course, the construction ability that erupted from these 1,852 people was probably something that even a few billion commoners couldn't compare to, and it was entirely capable of building up the tiny divine prefecture to a flourishing state. In fact, there was no need for so many people. Even a cultivator who had cultivated to the 20 transformations, gathering and dispersing impermanence realm, would have no problem building this continent on the sea. Back then, 6,000-year-old bone demons were only equivalent to a 7 or 8 transformations cultivator. Building in the wilderness was equivalent to 1,000,000 civilians or even more. Moreover, there were some things that no matter how many civilians there were, they couldn't do it. For example, building on the sea was something only sentient earth energy could do. The moment the civilians entered the water, they would be swept away. No matter how many people there were, they would have to sacrifice their lives. As for mining and moving stones, the efficiency of civilians was really low, and it was inevitable that there would be deaths. They even had to use large machines. If experts above 7 transformations Tao realm did it, their sentient earth energy would form into a giant hand, and they would be able to do it easily. For example, Gu Qinsha built a road from his fief to the chaotic world demonic ape god, which was basically impossible for ordinary people. The road was full of barren mountains and rivers, miasma, and poisonous insects. The ordinary people had to eat, drink, and relieve themselves. They had to open a road in the mountains and build a bridge in the rivers. Normal people are too weak. Even those at 5 transformations Tao realm can only use the power of their flesh and blood. Although they have cultivated sentient earth energy at 6 transformations Tao realm, it is just pure killing power. Only at 7 transformations Tao realm can one fly and turn into all sorts of forms. Gu Qinsha saw another sect leader. His cultivation was really strong, and he reached 20 transformations impermanence. He was also in charge of building. It was much simpler for him. He used his soul power and entered the deep sea. He opened up oars and formed a formation. He gathered the living beings in the ocean and used scriptures to forcefully convert them. In just a short while, all the living beings in the ocean listened to his scriptures and gained intelligence. They prayed in the ocean, and wish power gathered and reached the center of the small god continent. Another month passed, and the entire god continent was being constructed. Numerous living beings in the ocean were educated by the scriptures, and they gave birth to wish power. The altar in the Dragon Tower opened up the path to the common people's wish ball, and injected wish power into it. At that time, the energy of the common people's wish ball started to balance out, and they were even earning. One after another, experts from the immortal Dao sects received the summons and came to this little divine prefecture to build together. However, there weren't many of them. Those who could rush over in a month were at least Golden Core experts. Gu Qinsha didn't mind. He put many of his ideas for construction and operation into the small god continent. In addition, his avatar followed Qin Han to operate in the Xin province and built the Human Dragon Guild. His experience was constantly transmitted over. These comprehensions made him more and more aware of the operation of the entire god continent. Vaguely, his spiritual consciousness grew and was about to break through the secret of time and reach the 23 transformations past reflection. His breakthrough was definitely different from that of ordinary cultivators. Every time he advanced a realm, the power of his spells would be greater. Especially between the 20 transformations and the 23 transformations, it was another important juncture for cultivators. Even those born with the potential to become saints would be stuck at this juncture for a long time. Building the small god continent and assisting the Human Dragon Guild were extremely important to Gu Qinsha. He gained a lot. While building the small god continent, he was also waiting for the appearance of the peerless heavenly tome. The operation of the small god continent was already on the right track. There were thousands of cultivators in this place, and there were already many formations in operation. In particular, the common people's wish ball provided a stable power of vow. In this month, all the cultivator sect leaders had cultivated the great people's enlightenment scripture and found that their cultivation was rising steadily. They broke through many bottlenecks that couldn't be broken through. And because of the authority of Gu Qinsha, Jin Suebua began to conduct military-style training for these cultivator sect leaders. In the common people's wish ball, Zhuge, you saw the image of the overseas small god continent appear on the top of the ball. Many power of vow gathered and poured into the depths of the ball, nourishing it and making its power more and more pure. The speed at which the wish tree absorbed the three-realm seal, Little Thunderclap Temple, Little Muni Pagoda, and Maha Ring increased. King is really a genius and has comprehended some secrets of the God Continent. The small God Continent overseas and the true Central Plains God Continent are resonating with one another and have many similarities. The Xingqiong family's God Continent Great Technique comprehended the secrets of how the God Continent worked. King is also talented in this aspect. Zhuge knew that although the overseas small God Continent was just starting to be built, it had huge potential. Just the wish power from the sea creatures after they were enlightened would be huge. In the future, it would snowball and form a huge fortune. It would even exceed the operations of the Common People's College. Although there were many humans now, compared to the sea creatures, it was like a drop in the ocean. Absorb all of it. Zhuge sped up the absorption of the wish tree. Chapter 509. The Three-Realm Seal was a divine weapon that did not lose out to the Buzhou Palace. It contained massive energy and extraordinary effects. The seal's function was to pass through the three realms, break through the space-time barrier, and suppress demons. It was modeled after the Emperor's Jade Seal, and for a period of time, the ancient emperor had used this seal to issue other edicts. The Three-Realm Seal was like the Imperial Jade Seal. The legalists collected this seal because it circulated the ancient laws, and it had great benefits in suppressing all Dharma realms. However, Gu Qinsha took advantage of the chaos to collect it, which resulted in great losses. After the Tree of Wishes completely absorbed the seal, it condensed into a godlike fruit. Zhuge nodded to himself and observed the operation of the sphere. He felt that the energy required for the sphere to pass through the void or tear through space was greatly reduced. Any grotto heaven level magic treasure needed to pass through the space-time turbulence and tear through space. The Three-Realm Seal was a magic treasure that could pass through the three realms and control space-time. When this treasure fused with the sphere could open a teleportation door and hide in the depths of space-time. It could instantly jump through many spacetimes and endure spacetime turbulence and storms. It was like a fish in water. Such an effect was like coal in winter for the calming deity Bureau. Once this seal is fused, normal god-level experts won't even be able to grab the sphere, let alone destroy it. The speed at which the sphere jumps through space is much faster than god-level experts. As expected of a three-realm seal, Zhuge suddenly guided it, and, as the sphere wriggled, it absorbed a lot of space-time power from the space-time turbulence and rushed into the Tree of Wishes. The Tree of Wishes leaves fluttered as it started to refine the ancient Thunderclap Temple and the Little Muni Buddhist Pagoda. These two ultimate Buddhist treasures were incredibly powerful, and they contained worlds within them. They had the power to create and destroy things. The ancient Thunderclap Temple's effects were to suppress and attack, while the Little Muni Buddhist Pagoda's effects were to protect and carry. Kacha. Under the pressure, the two Buddhist treasures broke down into the most primitive Buddhist runes. After being completely absorbed by the Tree of Wishes, they condensed into small, similar fruits. At this moment, the Life's Wish sphere's defense, tearing, suppressive, and internal space were all expanded. Time and space as one, heaven and earth as one. Zhuge activated the secret art, and the roots of the Tree of Wishes completely fused with the sphere's gray space. Excellent. All of the magic treasure cores are fusing further. As long as I can fuse all of them into one given time, it will definitely not be inferior to any magical realm of the school of legalism. Then, with a flip of his palm, many sets of armors appeared, and a ferocious aura surged. These were the 360 sets of Divine Land's ferocious armor. There was also a set of Divine Land's 10 villains' armor. This was what Gu Chansha had obtained from the Sun and Moon Division through Qin Han. The fourth Gu Hua Sha had exchanged for it, and sent it into the sphere to observe the armor and discover some of the secrets of the Xing Qiong clan's Divine Continent Great Technique. Absorb. He made a hand seal and let the Tree of Desire absorb the armors. BZZT, 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 BZZT. The malevolent chi overflowed, try to get rid of it. Unfortunately, the power of the Tree of Desire and the sphere was limitless and exquisite, especially at the top of the sphere. There was a gold medal hanging there, and none of the malevolent chi dared to offend the gold medal. Gradually, the armors were all absorbed. A lot of information flowed into Zhuge mind. Of course, this information was also transmitted into the depths of Gu Chencha's mind. In the small divine continent, above the ocean, Gu Chansha was circulating his cultivation, refining his magic power, and comprehending his realm. He was trying to resist the powerful heavenly Tao's call like the Dharma saint. Recently, he had also gained some insights, and he circulated all kinds of techniques with exquisite ease. Suddenly, he felt the azure dragon tower that he had created tremble, and the connection between it and the Life's Wish sphere became closer. He immediately knew that the Tree of Desire had completely absorbed the three-realm seal. Ancient Thunderclap Temple, Little Muni Pagoda. Because the Maha Ring was forged from God Ma's bones, it will probably take some time to completely digest it. The sphere itself carried his will, and he had the highest control over the sphere. Every movement of the sphere was reflected in his mind. This was especially so after he cultivated the heavenly Tao technique. He sat in the azure biochemical dragon pagoda and continued to refine the pagoda into a powerful magic treasure. The Divine Continent Ominous Armor and the Divine Continent 10 Ominous Armor do indeed contain the miraculous effects of the Xing Qiong clan's self-created Divine Continent Grand Technique. However, my peeping is only a hair from 9 oxen. The Divine Continent Grand Technique is extremely exquisite, and it's fine for me to peep into it. My understanding of the Divine Continent has deepened. Since that's the case, Dragon Nurturing Mantra, Dragon Creation Mantra. Gu Chansha circulated these two mantras, and immediately, a large amount of Dragon Nurturing Chi and Dragon Creation Chi were formed. These two types of Chi which seemed to contain endless secrets, seeped into the azure dragon tower, making it even more worthy of its name. Furthermore, it gradually seeped into the ground, changing the mountain veins underground, causing the earth chi of this small divine continent to become denser, and it could also nurture more underwater life. In time, this small divine continent might become the center of the ocean. This was also a preparation to capture the peerless heavenly tome. Beneath the small divine continent, there were many formations faintly gathered. These formations absorbed spiritual chi, immortal chi, the power of the stars, and the energy from the various dimensions. Gradually, they gathered into a ball, and within the 99 prefectures of the small divine continent, there were 99 dragon veins. Whoosh! Jean Suebwa entered the azure dragon tower. What? You sense the peerless heavenly tome? Gu Qinsha asked. This subordinate feels that the peerless heavenly tome is about to appear, and its target is this subordinate. This subordinate once signed a contract with the peerless heavenly tome and obtained the 5-star profound. But now I've devoured the 5-star profound and fused it into my Yuan Shun. This is equivalent to betraying the peerless heavenly tome, and the book will definitely not let me go. Jean Subwa said, These days I condense this small divine continent according to King's plan and infuse my aura into the depths of the earth veins. Unknowingly, the peerless heavenly tome sensed it, and it became tempted. That's right. The peerless heavenly tome itself is greatly damaged, and it is difficult to recover. You contain the 5-star profound, and it is the best tonic to recover its Yuan Shun. Now, if the peerless heavenly tome devours you, it will also obtain a great supplement. Gu Qinsha was very perceptive. You have long sensed the peerless heavenly tomes spying on you, so it asked me to set up in advance. Now it is almost done. The small divine continent we set up has already formed a small scale, and it is becoming more and more attractive to the peerless heavenly tome. If the book devours you and then covers this small divine continent, using the small divine continent's formation, it will quickly recover. King, my spiritual sense is becoming more and more dangerous. Jean Sewa's expression was solemn. These days of planning, with each passing day, I feel that the peerless heavenly tome's killing intent towards me is becoming stronger, and it will attack me at any time. That's exactly the effect I want. Gu Qinsha smiled. Now, I'll pour oil on the fire for you. The 5-star mysteries in your nascent divinity don't belong to you. They were stolen from you, so you can't fuse them together. That's why your nascent divinity isn't perfect. My heavenly Tao cultivation base can make up for this. With the power of the heavenly Tao, you'll be the true reincarnation of the Lord of 5 stars. That way, the peerless heavenly tome will have no choice but to act. The peerless heavenly tome is extremely powerful, Jean Suebwa said. I'm afraid it's no weaker than a true god. Furthermore, its Yuan Shun is extremely intelligent, and its plans are flawless. My safety isn't important, but your highness is responsible for the rise and fall of the world. You can't act rashly. Don't worry. If I didn't have absolute confidence, why would I set up this trap? Establishing a small divine province, integrating the mystical sects of the immortal Tao, and conducting military training are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Gu Qinsha had Jean Suebwa sit down cross-legged. Just as well, I can help you raise your cultivation. Moreover, even at its peak, the peerless heavenly scripture cannot compare to the life's wish sphere. In essence, the peerless heavenly scripture is actually an existence of the same level as the Buzhou Palace, the 3 realms seal, the Little Muni Buddhist Pagoda, and the Minor Thunderclap Temple. It's just that the peerless heavenly sect had a few god-level experts overseeing it back then, and they were able to activate the peerless heavenly scripture's greatest power. Although they were all treasures, the 3 realms seal, Buzhou Palace, Little Moni Buddhist Pagoda, and Minor Thunderclap Temple were not able to unleash their full power in the tranquil immortal department. This was because there were no deity-level experts to control them. For example, when the Buzhou Palace was in Wen Hong's hands, it was definitely different. But in the hands of Fairy Jing, she could only display less than 1,000th of its power. It was the same for the all-mammoth shattering stick. These divine treasures could only be activated with the power of a deity-level expert's world. If anyone in the Tranquil Immortal Department had ascended to the deity level, then the situation would have been completely different. They would have had the ability to resist the profound immortal Tao sects and the various aristocratic families. Unfortunately, the powerhouses of the Tranquil Immortal Department were still far from reaching the deity level. Gu Chensha waited for Jin Suebois to sit down, then activated his heavenly Tao magic. A wave of pure power exploded forth, pouring into Jin Suebois' body. Instantly, the profound mysteries of 5 stars appeared within Jin Suebois' body. They hadn't completely melted yet, but under the assault of the heavenly Tao magic, the profound mysteries of the 5 stars began to crumble. Even after Jin Suebois died, they couldn't return to the stars themselves. This was a complete fusion, leaving no traces behind. Even after the Lord of 7 Stars died, the profound mysteries of the 7 stars would return. This was the law of the heavenly Tao, but Gu Chensha could break it. As the heavenly Tao magic washed over him, Jin Suebois repeatedly activated his own profound mysteries. Instantly, his magic power became incomparably refined, transforming into spheres of bright light that illuminated his surroundings. All of his life's efforts were revealed in the light. Everything about the everlasting celestial sect was displayed in it. Many secrets of the peerless heaven scripture were inextricably linked to each other according to the marks on his body. On his body, the peerless heavenly tome had left a mark that was similar to a curse. Chapter 510. The cultivation of the heavenly Tao art combined with Gu Chinch's experience in all kinds of primordial mystic arts could almost remove all curses, eliminate all negative karma, and resolve all sins. Thinking about it, even the fallen sages who had fused with the Tao wanted to ask Gu Chensha to inject the heavenly Tao art into their bodies to free themselves from the rules of the heavenly Tao. From this, it could be seen how miraculous Gu Chinch's heavenly Tao art was. Logically speaking, Gu Chinch's heavenly Tao art was a part of the heavenly Tao and contained omnipotent power. If cultivated to the extreme, one would be able to do anything. This was the infinite power of the heavenly Tao. However, his cultivation level was too low. But no matter how low his cultivation level was, using the heavenly Tao art to remove Jin Suebois' curse and increase his cultivation level was a piece of cake. Rumble. Just as Gu Chensha was helping Jin Suebois remove the curse, a sudden change occurred. Above Jin Suebois' head, a space-time passageway suddenly opened. Golden light flashed within with a hint of green light. A palm appeared from within. This palm was pure white and translucent. It was wrapped in golden and green light, as if it was inlaid with gold and jade. It was very beautiful and pleasing to the eye. However, this palm contained an incomparably huge world power. With a light grab, Jin Suebois and Gu Chensha were about to be sucked into it. It's finally here. Bursts of light radiated from Gu Chinch's body, and he immediately blocked the attack of this palm. The peerless heavenly scripture can't hold it in any longer. This pure white palm was the peerless heavenly scripture. The power of this palm was undoubtedly that of a god. But Gu Chensha was already prepared. How could he let the peerless heavenly scripture succeed? In his eyes, he had already borrowed the power of the life's wish sphere to see through the depths of the void. In the depths of the incomparably violent space-time turbulence, in the depths of an unknown number of parallel spaces, the shadow of a book appeared. This book emitted a greenish-gold color all over, as if it was a gorgeous tome inlaid with gold and jade. It kept jumping between many parallel spaces, flashing amidst the turbulence. If it wasn't for the fact that Gu Chinch's mental strength had reached a certain level, and he also had the help of the life's wish sphere, he probably wouldn't have been able to sense the aura of this peerless heavenly tome. The peerless heavenly scripture was a true god. even though it had been severely injured by the heavenly talisman emperor back then, forcing it to flee into the chaotic flow of space-time to recuperate. Its strength was still at the deity realm. It possessed immense world energy, and it also had its own origin spirit. In essence, the peerless heavenly scripture was similar to the three realms seal, the Bujo Palace, the Little Thunderclap Temple, and the Little Muni Buddhist Pagoda. However, this heavenly book had been refined by generations of God-level experts of the limitless heavenly sect, and it had already given birth to an origin spirit. Of course, the three-realm seal and the other magic treasures also had origin spirits in the past, but after encountering many tribulations, they had long perished, leaving only an empty shell. Gu Chansha had long since gone through all kinds of calculations and completely understood the strength of this peerless heavenly scripture. His divine will grabbed onto the main body of the peerless heavenly scripture within the space-time turbulence and immediately locked onto it. Then he mobilized the power of the sphere. World energy, inject. In an instant, an immense amount of world energy from the sphere gushed into the all-elephant's shattering cudgel in Gu Chencha's hand. After receiving the infusion of world energy, the cudgel's true might could be unleashed. Whoosh! The cudgel grew to a gigantic size and stabbed into the space-time turbulence. The myriad elephants' shattering cudgel, along with the space-time turbulence. The cudgel once again displayed the unparalleled might that the god of strength used to sweep through the demonic gods. Bang! In the depths of the space-time turbulence, the main body of the peerless heavenly scripture was struck by the all-elephant's shattering cudgel, and it felt as if everything had been locked onto and the space-time around it had been completely shattered. That destructive and earth-shattering cudgel came crashing down, and any attempt to dodge would be a joke. Peerless diagram. An intense light burst out from the peerless heavenly scripture, and a picture appeared. On the picture, the innate Tai Chi appeared, and the Tai Chi turned into the peerless heavenly scripture, blocking the all-elephant's shattering cudgel. World energy. Gu Chunsha let out a wild roar once again, mobilizing the world energy stored in the sphere and infusing it into the all-elephant's shattering cudgel. He was enveloped by world energy, and he actually entered the space-time turbulence as well. Then, he swung the cudgel at the peerless heavenly scripture again. This cudgel was even more powerful than the first one. The entire cudgel shone brightly, and wherever its aura went, the space-time turbulence froze. Then, the cudgel moved, and with a slight movement, the frozen space-time shattered like glass, turning into something similar to a chaotic fluid that enveloped the main body of the peerless heavenly scripture. Then, the second cudgel came crashing down. Wang, the peerless heavenly scripture, turned into a human form, a green-gold middle-aged man. The middle-aged man grabbed with both hands again, chanting some unknown incantation to stop the cudgel. At the same time, an unparalleled mental wave spread out. Junior, you're just a 22 transformations character, and yet you dare to scheme against me? Do you think you can harm me just because you have a magic treasure and world energy? How can you compare to a true deity? Peerless heavenly scripture, you do have some tricks up your sleeve. Unfortunately, all of this is within my calculations. Do you think you can escape from the capture of our tranquil, immortal department? If my guess is correct, your injuries have not healed, and the magic treasure behind me is enough to infuse world energy into you and defeat you. This was the first time Gu Chansha had extravagantly used the power of the sphere and allowed himself to fight to his heart's content. He was fighting head-on with the peerless heavenly scripture, which was equivalent to a deity expert. This was something he had never experienced before. He had fought a true deity face-to-face. In the past, he had always hidden in the shadows and used schemes to kill people with a borrowed knife, deceiving the heavens and the earth, climbing the stairs, and so on. That was because it was not easy for the sphere to accumulate world energy bit by bit. Without the power of a deity expert, it was not easy for the sphere to gather power. Moreover, Gu Chansha would not allow the sphere to give birth to its own origin spirit, because if that happened, the origin spirit would become the master, and he, the creator, would become an outsider. This was the reverse of a guest becoming the master. In fact, when ordinary deity experts refined their natal magic treasures, they would not allow the magic treasure to have its own origin spirit, so that they could have absolute control over the magic treasure itself. Of course, there were pros and cons to having a magic treasure's origin spirit. If your strength had reached the level where you could have absolute control over everything, then letting a magic treasure have an origin spirit was not a big deal. Unfortunately, Gu Qinsha had not reached that level yet. Kill. Gu Qinsha swung his staff once again. He had established a small divine province here, and as thousands of immortal Tao sect masters painstakingly built it, the scale of the purification of the living beings in the sea grew larger and larger. Countless living beings in the sea worshipped the sphere and produced wish power, which was then infused into the sphere, forming a torrent that was enough for Gu Chansha to squander like this. The small divine province was established to provide stable wish power for the life's wish sphere, and Gu Chansha had achieved this goal. He used the sphere's world power and the talismans that Wen Hong, Chong Weiyang, and Tai Xuandu had given him to protect himself in the space-time turbulence. The all-encompassing destruction cudgel was activated, and the cudgel technique struck out, shattering the void and completely suppressing the peerless heavenly book. The third cudgel strike was like a mountain, and layers of cudgel shadows appeared. Countless layers of cudgel shadows pressed down, breaking through the many layers of defense that the peerless heavenly book had set up in an instant, and fiercely bombarded the peerless heavenly book's body. The peerless heavenly book let out a mournful wail, as if it was showing signs of being defeated. Peerless heavenly book, you are only equivalent to an ordinary deity now. There is no way you can be a match for our tranquil, immortal department. Gu Qinsha swung his staff again. If we can't even take care of you, how can we fight against the sages of the 72 immortal Tao sects, and even the 3 heavenly venerables? Black Yellow Dragon Emperor? Li Wanlong? In the past, the tranquil immortal department had been petty, and they had been accumulating energy. They couldn't bear to use the energy accumulated in the sphere. Now that Gu Chansha was capturing the peerless heavenly book, if they still couldn't bear to use it, then they wouldn't be able to get their hands on this fat piece of meat. One couldn't trap a wolf without sacrificing a child. The fourth cudgel strike. Gu Chansha had made up his mind to suppress the peerless heavenly book in the air with this cudgel strike, inflicting further injuries on top of its previous injuries, and then drawing it into the sphere. In this cudgel strike, he even activated the transformations of the immortal slaying god, slaying flying saber. He hid the enhancement of saber chi within that cudgel strike. Junior, the peerless heavenly book, didn't sense it. Instead, it roared furiously and burst forth with its most supreme technique, Imperial Peerless Infinity. A golden jade river, green and gold intertwining with each other, appeared. It brought with it an incomparably precious aura, as if it was the true imperial way. This long river traversed the chaotic flows of space and time, once again blocking Gu Qinsha's fourth cudgel strike. However, he hadn't expected that Gu Qinsha's cudgel strike contained killing intent. It contained the saber chi of the true immortal slaying god, slaying flying saber. Cudgel strike. Gu Qinsha's figure disappeared, turning into a gourd. The gourd opened, and saber light flashed. The peerless heavenly book's own primordial spirit let out a world-shaking scream. Originally, Gu Chansha couldn't unleash the greatest power of this saber light, but now that he borrowed the power of the world of the sphere of the people's wish to activate it, it was completely different. In the hands of the 3 great heavenly venerables, the power of this saber light could kill Xing Qiangshi. The quality of Gu Qinsha's heavenly Tao technique was hidden very deeply, catching the peerless heavenly book off guard, and it actually injured its primordial spirit. What made him tremble with fear was that he had already recognized what it was that had injured him. Immortal slaying, God slaying flying saber, why do you have such a thing? The moment this saber appeared, the peerless heavenly book lost all will to fight. This saber's ominous name had already shaken the immemorial era. There wasn't anyone who wasn't afraid of it. Even the three great heavenly venerables were wary of it, let alone others. Thinking about the banishing deities technique that the three great heavenly venerables had comprehended from this saber, it was enough to make all the immortals in the world shiver in fear, let alone the saber itself. All of the golden and green light retracted, and it turned back into a book. It was about to escape into the depths of the space-time turbulence. But how could Gu Chunsha let it escape? He had already planned this out. He immediately put his hands together and once again activated the sphere's power. The power of the world surged, and layers of great formations were already set up, forming a huge whirlpool. This whirlpool seemed to gather the call of all the living beings in the world. Peerless heavenly book, come back, come back. The will of all the living beings in the world gathered together, and a kind of mysterious call came out. Peerless heavenly book, let me show you one of the strongest techniques of our celestial tranquility department, the call of all living beings. Gu Qinsha was expressionless. Chapter 511. The power of the life's wish sphere erupted completely. Even sages had to avoid it, let alone gods. Otherwise, those hostile sages, such as the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor, Li Wanlong, and the Black Heaven-Earth Sect leader, would have long attacked the sphere. Over the years, Zhuge Liu Baiwei, and Gu Chansha had desperately condensed the sphere and used all kinds of methods. This sphere fused the Book of Heavenly Demon, Buzhou Palace, Dragon Gate, Central Wutu Virtuous Flag, 10,000 Demon Human Transformation Diagram, and many other Dharma treasures. Then it was planted in the Heavenly Demon Tree and transformed into the Tree of Wishes. It also gathered the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise. If not for the short period of time, it would probably not be inferior to the Black Heaven-Earth Sect. Especially after Gu Chunsha cultivated the Heavenly Tao technique, he built an academy and gathered the power of Vow. Liu Baiwei and the fourth expanded the power of Vow. Especially the fourth Gu Huasha. He actually roped in all the governors of the imperial court. Most of the inspectors swore an oath to the sphere. The providence that these people carried was extraordinary. It was almost equivalent to the official aura of half the imperial court. Then, Gu Chansha built the small divine continent and set his sights on the marine creatures. It snowballed. The surging power of Vow gathered in the life's wish sphere, and the sphere became worthy of its name. Now, Gu Chansha activated the sphere and refined the power of Vow and released it. It was more powerful than the great Mahakasyapa mantra. The great Mahakasyapa mantra was also an incantation that stimulated the power of prayer. It fused with demonic chi and finally gathered into a power that could penetrate space-time. Gu Chansha was proficient in countless ultimate arts. The Great People's Salvation Sutra that he created also had the magical effects of the great Mahakasyapa mantra. Although it was not as domineering and destructive as the great Mahakasyapa mantra, it lingered and penetrated, sealed space-time, and tempered Dharma treasures. It was simply magical. In the refinement of magic treasures, there was a method of intent refinement. It was to hold a flying sword or other treasures and communicate with it day and night with your mind. Over time, this magic treasure would become one with your intent. Countless living beings prayed and made their own wishes and oaths to refine the world's wish sphere together. After it was absorbed and refined by the Tree of Wishes, the space-time and world of the sphere would naturally undergo many changes. This was also the reason why Zhuge had evolved the Heavenly Demon Tree into the Tree of Wishes. The Wish Tree was the result of the wisdom of the ancient heavenly sons and the Lord of Seven Stars. They used the Heavenly Demon Tree as a reference and took it a step further. They had entrusted humanity's wishes to them, but in the end, they hadn't succeeded. As for Gu Chansha and Zhuge, because of their various fortuitous encounters and their cultivation of the heavenly Tao, they were able to achieve this. Otherwise, it would not have been easy to gather the wishes and vows of all living beings. This was the first time the Tranquil Immortal Bureau had truly captured a divine-level expert. At this moment, the Tranquil Immortal Bureau had revealed its sharp fangs. The call of life was activated, and the peerless book was immediately pulled into the vortex. Step by step, it was about to fall into its center. As long as it was sucked into the vortex, even a god would fall. If the peerless book entered the world's wish sphere, it would have no chance at all. Guchensh's face was expressionless. He activated his heavenly Tao, sending it into the sphere and activating the Tree of Wishes. In turn, the Tree of Wishes activated the sphere, doing its best to prevent the peerless book from acting in desperation. No matter what, the peerless heavenly book was a divine-level expert and was even stronger than those great clans' old ancestors. If he were to go all out, he would still be able to deal damage to Gu Chansha or even the sphere. Generally speaking, even sages wouldn't want to force a divine-level expert into a dead end. Fortunately, Gu Chansha had made use of the peerless book's mentality of underestimating his opponent. He had used up quite a lot of the peerless book's vital chi with a few strikes. He then hid the immortal slaying god exterminating flying saber's chi within it, causing the peerless book to be even more injured. This further reduced the book's counterattack. The call of life, the wish of life, the oath of life. Gu Chansha fought with all his might. This battle was extremely beneficial to Gu Chansha. With the experience of fighting a divine-level expert head-on, he was even more familiar with the power of the world. He also comprehended many of the sage's memories. He had to comprehend the mysteries of time at all times. Final attack, he slowly raised the all-encompassing obliteration cudgel, and a destructive aura brewed on it. At this moment, a pitch-black light suddenly flashed from the depths of space-time, directly entering the depths of the peerless book. Immediately, the book released a black, fiendish aura. Rumble. It was as if another divine-level expert was helping the peerless book. The power of the peerless book instantly increased by a lot. It suddenly erupted, and as it shook the space, countless divine lightning was born. Your Highness, channel your transcendence energy into the regal propria token. Zhuge Yuzwa was suddenly transmitted into Gu Chansha's mind. Gu Chansha immediately circulated his transcendence energy, channeling the heavenly Tao art directly into the floating token in the highest sky of the sphere. SSSS. The token seemed to be slightly activated by the heavenly talisman Great Emperor's Bloodline, contained within the heavenly Tao art. A dot of golden light the size of a soybean appeared, directly landing in Zhuge Yu's palm. Zhuge Yu kowtowed and said, "Blessings to your majesty. Your subject, Zhuge Yu, will use this power to lay down a plan to protect the lives of the world." After obtaining this dot of golden light, he suddenly flicked it. This golden light soundlessly passed through space-time and was imprinted within the peerless book. No one noticed it. At this moment, the peerless book's main body was strengthened, as if there was a huge power from afar helping it. The book suddenly erupted, escaping without a trace amidst the boundless space-time divine lightning. Gu Chansha immediately searched for it, but there was no trace of the peerless book. However, he knew that the capture this time wasn't a failure. Zhuge Yu had laid down an even deeper plot. He immediately circulated his world energy and retreated from the space-time turbulence. He was only at the 22 transformations of heaven and earth realm. If it wasn't for the sphere's power, he wouldn't have been able to enter. Even so, he couldn't stay in the space-time turbulence for long. When he appeared in the azure biochemical dragon pagoda again, Jean Sibwa said fiercely, "Your Highness, we failed. Did a stronger power intervene, causing us to fall short of success? It can't be considered a failure. We had an even deeper plot." Gu Chansha immediately communicated with Zhuge Yu. This time, the one who helped the peerless book was one of the Xing Qiong clan subordinates, The divine prefecture Thousand Fiends armor. That's equivalent to a deity-level expert. This Thousand Fiends armor has already seeped into the bloodline of the Jiang clan's descendants. Zhuge transmitted his will. Jiang Gongwang's descendants are controlled by the Xingqiang clan, and they are plotting to obtain the world burial coffin. This time, they obtain the Peerless Book in order to prevent the sphere's power from increasing after we obtain this book, making it harder for us to obtain the world burial coffin. So that's how it is. Gu Qinsha knew that Zhuge's mind was constantly communicating with the world burial coffin, and he could even obtain power from the coffin. A long time ago, he had summoned the coffin's power to defeat Jing Xiao. Right now, Zhuge's cultivation had already reached the 24 transformations, future peaking. His senses were more than 10 times stronger than before. His comprehension of the world burial coffin was even deeper, and he was able to see things that others couldn't. The divine prefecture Thousand Fiends armor has inherited the will of the Xingqiang clan, and it itself is a fiendish god. This fiendish god didn't have good intentions when it saved the peerless heavenly book. It naturally wants to devour the book to strengthen itself. The odds are against this book, Zhuge said again. In that case, the reason why you made me activate my father's medallion and make arrangements within it was so that we could obtain the world burial coffin. Gu Qinsha completely understood Zhuge's plan. That's right. I've already comprehended some of the medallion's wondrous effects. If this medallion is used well, it can avoid many tribulations for our celestial tranquility department, and we'll be able to do everything more smoothly. Zhuge said, this time, we're casting a long line to catch a big fish. The peerless heavenly book is the bait, and, as expected, it's starting to bite. Looks like Mr. Zhuge's calculations are profound. As long as the Xingqiang clan's divine prefecture Thousand Fiends armor takes the bait, they'll spit out the peerless heavenly book and the treasures within it with interest. Gu Qinsha nodded. Not only that, but we won't have to waste energy summoning the world burial coffin, and we'll save a lot of world energy. We can let the Xingqiang clan summon it, and then we'll just have to pluck the peaches. Zhuge said, but in the end, we'll still have to use Do 19 to secretly let the 3 great celestial venerables know of the Xingqiang clan's plan, and cause these big shots to restrain each other. I'll naturally do that, Gu Qinsha said. The more chaotic the situation is, the better. This time, our celestial tranquility department and the common people's wish sphere have cast out bait, and we've lost a lot of world energy. At the very least, we've used up a lot of world energy. Zhuge said, for the time being, we can only hide our strength and bide our time. Fortunately, Your Highness has established the small divine prefecture, and as long as we expand our operations, it'll be easy to replenish our resources as more and more people gather. That's the only way. Gu Qinsha and Zhuge discussed many details in secret. In the depths of a desolate forest in the boorish wasteland, Jiangqi sat cross-legged. Suddenly, a black light and an azure golden light descended, and they intertwined with each other, releasing an extremely terrifying power. Xing Qianxiong, why did you suddenly fly out of my body? Jiangqi asked in shock. Ha ha ha. Xing Qianxiong laughed. The Celestial Tranquility Department wanted to capture the peerless heavenly book, and at the most crucial moment, I beat them to it and reaped the benefits. The Celestial Tranquility Department was injured by the Celestial Tranquility Department, and I took advantage of its weakness to enter. Now, I'm going to devour the book's origin spirit and fuse it with the book's world. Once I succeed, my world energy will multiply, and at that time, I'll start setting up a trap with you to summon the world burial coffin. With your bloodline summoning, the Celestial Tranquility Department won't be able to obtain any benefits, and this coffin will belong to me in the end. The countless treasures within, the 7-star profound mysteries, and the enormous innate world energy of the coffin itself will all belong to us. Peerless heavenly book, Jiangqi laughed coldly. You obtain such benefits, but what about me? It's rumored that the peerless heavenly book contains countless treasures. Chapter 512. 7 days and 7 nights passed. Suddenly, Xing Qianxiong's armor let out a shrill cry. It was as if some kind of spirit had been completely refined and engulfed by a boundless, baleful aura. I hate. It was the peerless heavenly book's original spirit that let out a cry of pain and hatred. You hate me for nothing, Xing Qianxiong said viciously. Xing Qianxiong let out a sinister voice. Are you regretting not joining the tranquil immortal department and being devoured by me? Don't worry. Even if you join the calming immortal department, I will still refine your original spirit. No one will be at ease with a divine weapon possessing an uncontrollable original spirit, especially those little fellows from the calming immortal department. They can't control a divine weapon with an original spirit and will definitely absorb your original spirit. Hate me all you want. Your hatred is also a great nourishment for me. Let me go. The peerless heavenly book's original spirit's cries became louder and louder. This was a battle between two divine-level experts. Do you think I'll let you go when the food is in my mouth? Xing Qianxiong clicked his tongue. What a joke. It wasn't easy for me to obtain a divine weapon with an original spirit. After fusing with me, I will have a chance to become Xing Wanxiong. A divine weapon with an original spirit is too rare. Of course, I'm also a divine weapon with an original spirit. I won't let you have your way even if I die. The peerless heavenly book's original spirit roared, as if it was going to use some kind of destructive technique. Is that so? If you were at your peak, I would be very afraid. Those people from the everlasting heavenly sect forged you to be extremely powerful. Unfortunately, many of your foundations were destroyed, and you were betrayed by Jin Suebois. You lost your 5-star profound meaning and were injured by the calming immortal department. Now, all you can do is work for me. Why are you still struggling? Divine Prefecture, great technique. Xing Qianxiong used his trump card. Instantly, layers of Divine Prefecture appeared in the air, pressing inwards and causing a huge collapse. Woo. The peerless heavenly book's original spirit let out its final despair, wanting to die together with Xing Qianxiong. However, it could not do anything. It was completely devoured by Xing Qianxiong. After devouring the peerless heavenly book's original spirit and body, Xing Qianxiong's strength seemed to have reached a certain limit. A tyrannical force entered Jiangqi's body. Jiangqi's entire body wriggled as his body was cleansed once more. His cultivation base rose inch by inch. Kid, you're lucky. Lord Xingqiong tied me to your heart's blood and sweat. With the Divine Continent's great technique as a link, you'll be able to benefit greatly when my cultivation level rises. By cultivating the Divine Continent's great technique, you'll be able to receive a great favor. Xing Qianxiong laughed strangely. Dao Realm 10 Transformation. Multitasking. Jiangqi broke through many times and a cold smile appeared on his face. Who knew that I would have such a fortuitous encounter? Dao Realm Transformation 11. Soul Tentacles. Dao Realm 12th Transformation. Soul Snatching. In the blink of an eye, he completed a process that would take a normal cultivator 60 years or even 100 years to comprehend. To him, cultivation was not a problem at all. Very good. You have completely activated Jiang Gongwang's bloodline. Your future achievements will be limitless. Xing Qianxiong saw Jiangqi's improvement, but you are still too weak. Dao Realm Transformation 12 Soul Snatching isn't worth mentioning at all. Don't worry, I have comprehended much of the Divine Continent's great technique. In time, I will reach the peak of the first stage. At that time, shocking potential will explode out. Jiangqi said proudly, I didn't expect that there would be so many treasures and pills in the Peerless Sky book. He grabbed, and a jade green pill appeared in his hand. This is the 10,000 Jade Xian Spirit Pill. This pill requires an ancient celestial to cultivate in a pill furnace for dozens of years, gathering numerous herbs and extracting their essence. If one consumes it, it can reshape one's meridians. With these resources, why would I need to worry? They're all good treasures. Along with the Divine Continent's great technique, You will be able to improve by leaps and bounds. Xing Qian Xiong said, I will help you cultivate. Remember, with the Divine Continent's great technique as your foundation, you will be able to obtain supreme cultivation. At that time, even Wu Dangkong won't be able to control you. You can even turn the tables and make Wu Dangkong submit to you. Wu Dangkong is actually using me as a chess piece. He is just asking to die. Jiangqi laughed coldly and said, Sooner or later, I will make this woman submit to me. As for the Celestial Commerce Department, they coveted my treasures and the world-burying coffin left behind by the ancient ancestors. They deserve even more death. Since that's the case, I will capture that Zhuge and devour him when my cultivation is complete. As for the Celestial Commerce Department, they will all be under my command. Very good. With such ambition, as expected from Jiang Gongwang's bloodline descendant. Xing Qian Xiong said, Next, we will prepare all sorts of materials for the altar and use your bloodline to perform the ritual and summon. What materials do we need to prepare? Jiang Qi asked. Of course, a large amount of souls and flesh. Xing Qian Xiong said, You don't have to worry about this. I will handle it. Once we enter the demon territory, we will capture demons. It will be easy. I can even kill demon gods, so capturing some small demons will be a piece of cake. Everything will be decided by you. Jiang Qi's eyes were cold. No one knew what he was thinking. No, you will be the one in charge. Xing Qian Xiong denied. This time, go to the demon territory to prepare the materials is also a training for you. When you come back from the demon territory, you will be reborn and reach an invincible realm. If we use the same method of sacrificing souls, we can also kill ordinary people. Wouldn't it be faster? Jiang Qi asked. Right now is the most sensitive time for the demon disaster. The order of heaven and earth is about to change. If you kill ordinary people in the Divine Continent, I am afraid it will cause a series of changes. When that time comes, you will become the focus of attention. It won't be worth it. Xing Qian Xiong laughed. But with this question, it shows that you are also a ruthless person. It seems that you have inherited Lord Xing Qiong's fiendish Tao. Other than me, everything can be used as a sacrifice. Jiang Qi said, Isn't this the core of the Divine Continent's great technique? Not bad. You understand it very quickly. Xing Qian Xiong grabbed fiercely. Space was torn apart by him, and he pulled Jiang Qi into it. They were heading to the demon territory. Inside the Life's Wish sphere. At this moment, Gu Chansha and Zhuge Yu were activating their spells. Xing Qian Xiong and Jiang Qi's actions appeared in front of them. They had already reached the demon territory. They were killing demons and collecting souls and flesh to prepare the materials needed to summon the world-burying coffin. Any god artifact will not reject the sacrifice of souls, flesh, and blood, because souls are the best material for god artifacts to upgrade. There is no other. Zhuge said, Your Highness, I can see the past and peek into the future. These two transformations have been cultivated to the limit. I have comprehended some of the secrets of the Emperor's medallion. However, I can't activate it myself. I have to rely on Your Highness' heavenly Tao technique to activate it. Also, I have almost peeked into the truth of heaven and earth. What truth of heaven and earth? Gu Chansha watched Xing Qianxiong and Jiang Qi's every move vividly in his mind. He even knew what they were saying and what they were thinking. This was the power of the token. This Jiang Qi is really arrogant. He's just a small cultivator, but he seems to be able to control the world just because he had a fortuitous encounter. He is already under the control of the Xing Qiong clan. They taught him the first stage of the Divine Continent Grand Magic. Zhuge Ye asked Gu Chansha to continue channeling his magic power into the Regal Proprieties Gold Medallion. This is a series of my methods. The power of the Gold Medallion has already entered Xing Qianxiong's body. Once he devours the Peerless Heaven Book, he will also devour the power of the Gold Medallion. Through this connection, we will be able to obtain all of his secrets, including the cultivation method of the Divine Prefecture. Jiang Qi has only cultivated the first stage. Xing Qianxiong is a divine weapon created by the Xing Qiong clan. He knows the 72 stages of the divine continent grand magic. Through this, we can at least grasp the 72 stages of the divine continent grand magic. What do you think? This won't be a loss, right? Indeed, it won't be a loss. In fact, it will be a huge gain. Gu Qinsha smiled. The divine continent grand magic is the blood and sweat of the Xing Qiong clan. He comprehended the secrets of the divine continent and created it. The divine continent, thousand ominous armor, is proficient in the 72 stages of the divine continent grand magic. The divine continent, thousand ominous armor, is proficient in the 81 stages. As for the divine continent, million ominous armor, is Xing Qiong clan's life armor. It was forged from the 99 stages of the divine continent grand magic. Once King learns the 72 stages of the divine continent grand magic, you will be able to make the small divine continent even more perfect. It will be very useful for King to comprehend the Tao of divergent numbers and even break the restrictions of the heavenly Tao. Zhuge Ye said, in comparison, the loss of us wasting some world energy and not obtaining the peerless heaven scripture is negligible. Indeed, I have more confidence in the construction of the small divine continent. I know the flow of the earth veins, the flow of qi, and the coordination of the dimensions. If I comprehend all 72 stages of the divine continent grand magic and combine it with my common people mending heaven art, I might really have a chance to comprehend the divergent numbers in the future. Gu Qinsha was satisfied. All right, what is the truth of heaven and earth that you mentioned? It's strange. I used a spell to calculate the past. After the heavenly talisman emperor was born, all the scenes in the world were empty. Zhuge Ye said, it seems like there was a gap in time. The era we are in now doesn't exist in the future. Impossible? Jin Suebua also reached the past reflection realm. Why didn't this happen? Gu Qinsha's heart shook. He knew what this meant. It was possible that what he was experiencing now was a dream. He hadn't woken up from the dream yet. What he saw with his spiritual energy was a dream, so it was the truth. Only when his spiritual energy reaches a mysterious state that is compatible with the heavenly Tao would he be able to sense what is going on. However, the situation is still confusing. Zhuge Ye said, this change is not something I can predict. We can only take one step at a time. When our cultivation is deeper, maybe we will be able to understand more of the truth. Chapter 513. Gu Qinsha was stuck at the 23 transformations, past reflection. It was indeed very difficult for him to improve, but he was not in a hurry. He steadily forged ahead, accumulating his strength and resources bit by bit through various methods. Activating the world energy of the life's wish sphere to fight against the peerless heavenly book was equivalent to a battle between gods. Not only did Gu Qinsha obtain a lot of experience, but with Zhuge Ye's arrangements, he also obtained the 72 divine continent grand arts. As long as he carefully comprehended them, he would be millions of times more powerful than the likes of Jing Qiu and Do 19. Of course, even the 99 divine continent grand arts were definitely not as brilliant as the Son of Heaven Investiture art and the Great God Massacre art. But it was the greatest help to Gu Qinsha because Gu Qinsha had just comprehended the secrets of the divine continent and built a small divine continent. The land of the divine continent had nurtured countless tyrannical figures. Since ancient times, it had been the accumulation of luck between heaven and earth. If Xing Qiongshi hadn't comprehended the deepest secrets of the divine continent, he wouldn't have become the divine continent's fiercest. Although the Celestial Tranquility Department didn't obtain the peerless heavenly book this time, it had really made a huge profit. The knowledge contained within the 72 divine continent grand arts was enough to raise Gu Qinsha's experience to a whole new level. Immediately, Gu Qinsha and Zhuge Ye began to comprehend the 72 divine continent grand arts they obtained from Xing Qinshiu. Gu Qinsha's body suddenly dispersed, and like a scroll slowly unfurling, It turned into the 99 divine continent grand arts of the divine continent. He activated it with his heavenly Tao art, and it was vivid in his mind. Then the 99 divine continent grand arts began to change from the primordial era. Gradually, humans appeared, countries were established, wars were fought, divisions were united, turmoil, divisions, wars were fought again, unification was again, and the cycle was endless. Gu Chansha seemed to be activating the changes, and he was playing out the changes of history and all kinds of impermanence in the world, changing unpredictably. He performed it 72 times, and the changes were not complete. However, Gu Chansha could no longer perform it. This was because he only obtained the 72 divine continent grand arts. These were all Xing Xiong Shi's understanding and comprehension of the divine continent. After 72 revolutions, Gu Chansha returned to his original appearance. 3 months had passed. It felt like an instant. When he came back to his senses, he couldn't believe it. He had just used the Great Divine Prefecture technique once, and 3 months had passed. He felt that it had disappeared in an instant. If it revolved a few dozen more times, wouldn't that mean that dozens of years would be gone? When he activated the Great Divine Continent technique, he almost could not feel the passage of time. This was another extreme. In a mortal world, time changed extremely quickly. In a few months, people might be born, grow old, get sick, and die. In 10 years, people would change. Cultivation was too time-consuming. However, in these 3 months, he had practiced the 72 layers of the Divine Land's law once. Gu Chansha felt that he seemed to have grasped the key point of an anomaly. He was about to break through some kind of barrier, break the shackles, and become an anomaly, but he was just a little bit away. Becoming a divergent was also a way to resist the heavenly Tao. Even a sage with the deepest cultivation base could not resist the heavenly Tao's call sooner or later. In the end, he would be melted into the Tao. Only an anomaly could break through to the highest realm and become an existence like the 3 great celestial venerables. The most recent anomaly was the martial emperor. As for Jingxiu, he was still miles away. After Gu Chansha comprehended the 72 layers of the divine prefecture law, his horizons were broadened, and he was no longer the same as before. In the past, he thought that Jingxiu could comprehend the divergent, but now he felt that he was just fishing for the moon in the water. Jingxiu's Tao was a little off. If this continued, it would be very difficult to comprehend the anomaly. And he had gained a lot of experience, especially the great divine prefecture technique that Xing Xiong Shi, the king of anomalies, had painstakingly created. In these 3 months, although his realm did not increase, and he still had not reached the realm of past reflection, his horizons, usage of the heavenly Tao, construction of the small divine province, and resistance to the heavenly Tao's call had improved greatly. The construction of a small divine province is getting better. After waking up from his cultivation, Gu Chansha hurriedly began to accept a lot of information. He wanted to see how the world had changed. On the surface, the world seemed to be changing with each passing day, and it was thriving. In reality, there were turbulent undercurrents that could change the world at any time. Gu Chansha was afraid that when he was in seclusion, the world would collapse. Fortunately, nothing had happened in these 3 months. Under Jin Suebu's construction, the small divine province was being managed better and better. Many sect leaders of the immortal Tao mystic sects had begun to call on their friends and transfer the resources and outstanding disciples of their sects to the small divine province. The eastern wilderness was extremely far from the sea where the small divine province was located. But because the calming immortal department had created a space ring, people could be placed in the space first, and then experts above the 20 transformations could fly. Going back and forth was not very slow. Experts who had cultivated the 20 transformations, gathering and dispersing impermanence, had no problem flying across the sea. As for the Human Dragon Union, the moment Gu Chansha's main body woke up, he immediately received the information sent by his incarnation. That incarnation did not have much power, but it was also of the heavenly Tao quality. It had done many things while hiding its transformation, and it had already helped the human-dragon union to grow bigger and bigger and become a climate in the Sin province. There was nothing much happening in the other worlds. The fourth Gu Huasha was still in contact with the ministers in the imperial court. With the production of the Tree of Desire, he had roped in many officials and ministers, forming an alliance, and swore to the sphere that they would maintain the peace and harmony of the world. Lu Baiwei, on the other hand, had expanded the academy and nurtured many talents. They had also begun to gain experience in various places. They were either manufacturing, serving as the assistants of officials, running chambers of commerce among the people, creating medical centers, schools, and so on. The talents of the Common People's Wish Academy had already begun to infiltrate all walks of life in the world, and the dragon nurturing mantra had also begun to spread. The influence of the Celestial Pacification Department was flourishing with each passing day, and it had already formed a certain kind of general trend. Be it in the mystical sects of the immortal Tao or in the mortal world, it had already presented a surging torrent that was unstoppable. In the imperial court, there were even some people who believed that the Celestial Pacification Department was the true mainstay of the imperial court, and it had already surpassed the Celestial Designer Academy. After all, no matter how powerful the Celestial Designer Academy was, it was impossible for them to create the Dragon Nurturing Mantra and the Dragon Creation Mantra. These two mantra were heaven-defying actions. While those who cultivated them could change their aptitude, they would definitely encounter many tribulations in the future. However, tribulations were not a bad thing. They were a means to train people. The more tribulations one encountered, the stronger one would become after transcending them. For example, those who had comprehended a divergent would face endless tribulations in the future. It was practically a tribulation with every step they took. Thank goodness, nothing went wrong. The world has given me another 3 months to develop. Gu Qinsha was now on guard against the collapse of the general trend at all times. Thankfully, the devil calamity had yet to erupt. This was thanks to his arrangements. He used the power of the Human Dragon Society and the Buddhist sect to purify all the demons in the Sin province. He had also used a scheme to let Xing Qianxiong enter the demon domain and slaughter wantonly, once again delaying the devil calamity. If Xing Qianxiong wanted to use Jiang Qi's bloodline to obtain the world-burying coffin, he would need a large number of souls and flesh as sacrifices. He did not dare to kill innocents in the divine great land, so he could only enter the demon domain and hunt demons. This way, it would also have a certain effect on delaying the devil calamity. Back then, in order to cultivate a secret technique, Do 19 had used the Emperor's Gourd and 360 Emperor's heavenly soldiers to kill countless demons in the demon domain, harvesting their souls and flesh. This had also caused some damage to the demon domain and delayed the devil calamity. Unfortunately, all of his things had been taken away by Gu Qinsha, and he had suffered greatly. Now, Gu Qinsha and Zhuge wanted to use the same trick again. They wanted Xing Qianxiong to kill demons and then accept everything from him. Xing Qianxiong was a deity rank expert through and through. After swallowing the peerless heavenly scripture, his ferocity was unparalleled, and his killing speed was countless times faster than Do 19. Gu Qinsha had been cultivating for 3 months, and he had no idea how many demons Xing Qianxiong had killed. This matter was something that Zhuge had been observing. Strange, during these 3 months, Gu Tanjian, Wu Dangkong, Martial Emperor, and the 9 deity rank experts of the Wu clan did not come to look for me. Gu Qinsha had many responsibilities, and he had transformed into Wudong Xing to contact various parties. Originally, during these 3 months, there should have been people looking for him. The one who wanted to look for him the most should be Gu Tanjian. He had discussed with Gu Tanjian to use the curse to plot against Martial Emperor. However, 3 months had passed, and Gu Tanjian had not moved at all. What was his fellow thinking? Or was he absolutely not confident? After a Martial Emperor comprehended a divergent, his cultivation would increase at an unimaginable speed. If he was too late, not only would the other party recover his strength, but he would also improve further. By then, it would be difficult to deal with him. He might even be killed by the martial emperor. Back then, when the martial emperor was at his peak, he was at the peak of the 36 transformations, but he was not a divergent. Therefore, he was eliminated in the end. If he had comprehended a divergent and surpassed the 36 transformations realm, the outcome of the martial emperor dynasty would be hard to predict. I will find a chance to ask Gu Tanjian or probe him in secret. Gu Qinsha thought to himself. However, this is also one of my plans. The crux of this plan is for Gu Tanjian to obtain the ancestral sorcerer bone slab and use it to activate the curse with the great spirit god and the sorcerer ancestor. I can only communicate with the martial emperor and trick him. The most important thing now is to wait for Gu Tanjian to take the bait. It's better to go to the island and create a small divine province. I have comprehended the 72 divine provinces. If I reconstruct the small divine province, I will definitely be able to reach a higher level. This is the righteous path of a king. Schemes and tricks will be inferior. Gu Qinsha was clear that his heavenly Tao technique had endless transformations. He could swindle people everywhere to obtain benefits. However, this was not the righteous path after all. The righteous path was to operate and build in an upright manner, gathering luck and bringing forth ideas to sweep through the world. Since ancient times, no one in the secular world had ever heard of anyone who had relied on schemes and tricks to conquer the world. Only by sweeping through the world in an upright manner would people be convinced. It was the same for the celestial Tao's mystic gate. Even though the three heavenly venerables had many schemes, they had recruited disciples, refined worlds, controlled the mystic gate, and killed powerful enemies one after another to reach their current position. Chapter 514. Your Highness, there are currently 109,820 members of the mystical immortal Tao sects in the Lesser Divine Province. Over the past 3 months, many sects have summoned their disciples here to build and manage. The 99 prefectures of the Lesser Province's formations are in operation, and the creatures in the sea have gained much intelligence. When Gu Qinsha returned to the Lesser Province, Jin Suebua came forward to report. Good, very good. Gu Qinsha couldn't help but nod at the situation before him. Looking out, the construction in the Lesser Province was in full swing. All the cultivators were chanting the Great Life Universal Purification Scripture, and the creatures in the sea could vaguely see many scriptures condensed from essence, chi, and spirit rushing into the sky, forming a treasure pagoda that covered the land. In the end, they transformed into the illusory dragon of scriptures that burrowed into the azure dragon pagoda at the center, and after thousands of cycles of preparation, they were sent into the sphere. This way, the Life's Wish sphere obtained a stable vow of vow and was constantly replenished with power. It seeped into the depths of the sphere world, expanding, condensing, and nourishing. Gu Qinsha felt that this was the style of the 72 mystical immortal Tao sections. After 3 months of operation, there were already 100,000 cultivators here. Of course, the disciples of the 2,000 mystical immortal Tao sects added up to at least a few million, or even 10 million. However, most of the cultivators and disciples were too weak to adapt to the environment of the sea. For the time being, Gu Qinsha only allowed the heads of these sects to bring disciples who had reached the 4th transformation, the metal-devouring stone transformation. That way, they could somewhat resist the harsh environment of the sea. At the 4th transformation, the metal-devouring stone transformation was one with the inside and the outside, impervious to all poisons. Even the harsh climate of the sea could do nothing to them, and their ability to survive was greatly enhanced. Of course, in order to carry out construction in the sea, one had to reach the 7th transformation, the levitating stone transformation. The others were all reserves. Even among the 2nd or 3rd-rate mystical immortal Tao sects, there weren't many powerful disciples, and those who could reach the 7th transformation, the levitating stone transformation, were few and far between. Of the 100,000 cultivators, less than 10,000 were above the 7th transformation. Most were below the 6th transformation. In truth, second or third-rate immortal Tao sects might not necessarily compare to some of the second or third-rate noble clans of the Central Divine Continent. As the Celestial Designer Institute and the Celestial Commerce Department continued to produce all kinds of medicinal pills and the development of the wildlands, experts began to spring up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Celestial Path sects were more secluded and developed slowly. Actually, in a sect, most of them were service disciples. They were all below Tao realm, and there were more mortal realm martial masters. In time, the overall strength of the Yonko people of the Central Divine Prefecture would definitely surpass that of the mystic immortal Tao. Jean Suebois, although I didn't get the Peerless Heavenly Book this time, I was able to acquire the Xingqiong clan's 72 Divine Prefecture Grand Magic. I've gained a lot of enlightenment, and I'll pass them on to you now. You'll definitely be able to improve the Minor Divine Prefecture. A thought surged out and was transmitted into Jean Suebois' sea of consciousness. Jean Suebois quickly accepted it, and it took 6 to 8 hours for it to be finished. His entire body rippled with spiritual power, and he immediately began to gain enlightenment. Study it carefully. The Divine Prefecture Grand Magic is filled with boundless profundities. If you hadn't participated in the construction of the Minor Divine Prefecture, you probably wouldn't have been able to fully understand it in your lifetime. But in the process of constructing the Minor Divine Prefecture, you'll be able to work with the Grand Magic and benefit greatly from it. Gu Qinsha let Jean Suebois continue to study the Grand Magic. With a thought, he flew up into the air and split into 99 clones. The 99 clones transformed into 99 enormous dragons. These dragons didn't have scales on them, but rather an ink painting of the Divine Prefecture. Divine Prefecture dragons, the earth seethes, the sun and moon travel, the void illuminates. Gu Qinsha had already gained a better understanding of the Minor Divine Prefecture. The 100,000 cultivators looked at the 99 Divine Prefecture dragons in the sky in shock. They felt like they had the power to destroy heaven and earth. In front of such power, no cultivator could resist at all. Then, Gu Qinsha's instructions appeared in the minds of many cultivators. Don't be surprised. This is the Minor Divine Prefecture that I've modified. You just need to cooperate with me. The 99 Divine Prefecture dragons immediately burrowed underground. The entire Minor Divine Prefecture that spanned hundreds of thousands of miles immediately changed. Many mountains rose up and lakes appeared. The original buildings weren't destroyed. Instead, they were wrapped by an invisible power and floated up. Too strong, too strong. Among the cultivators here, the one with the highest cultivation was the Han Qing sect leader. Even Wang Qingzhu's body was trembling. He had already cultivated to the peak of the Tao realm's 26 transformations, 10,000 techniques returned to one, and it was of the Vajra technique quality. Not including the natural saint's true dragon technique quality, he could already sweep the celestial Tao and even some of the great elders of the 72 mysterious gates. If he joined the Black Heaven Earth sect, he would immediately be able to truly participate in decision-making. However, it would be better for him to establish his own sect and become an ancestor. He had originally wanted to see Jean Suebois establish the Immortal Tao Alliance and come to reap the fruits of his labor. In his opinion, the juniors of the Commerce Deity Department were all insignificant, and he could completely suppress them. However, who knew that he would encounter a monster like Gu Qinsha, who would be suppressed with a flick of his finger. Although he had temporarily submitted because Banished Immortal had used Banished Immortal's method to knock down Baju Feng, this didn't mean that he had become a slave of the Communist Deity Department. What kind of person was he? Naturally, he knew how to be flexible. He had been lying in ambush, ready to make a comeback at any time and kill many people of the Communist Deity Department to take revenge for the humiliation he had suffered over the past few months. However, he now saw Gu Qinsha transform into 99 Divine Prefecture dragons and burrow underground. The entire minor divine prefecture's landscape within hundreds of thousands of miles had undergone a fundamental change. The soil and rocks were all changing. This kind of majestic power made him feel terrified. Only then did he realize that Gu Chansha had just been playing with him the last time they fought. This was his true power. This kind of power wasn't something he could contend against at all. He once again suppressed his thoughts of revenge and could only follow Gu Chench's instructions. He also activated the Great People's Salvation Scripture to cooperate with the condensation. The continent's tectonic plates were wriggling as if they were being forged again. All the soil began to turn the color of sky blue. This was somewhat similar to the heaven mud on the minor Mount Meru where the ape race lived. Heaven mud was a soil that was a step further than immortal mud. Back on the minor Mount Meru, the ape race could only change the soil on that mountain peak. They couldn't do anything to the ground at the foot of the mountain. Now, Gu Chansha actually wanted to turn the soil of the entire minor divine prefecture into heaven mud. This was simply unimaginable. Of course, it was impossible for him to transform it in one go. In order to accomplish this great feat, even he would probably have to go through hundreds of thousands of times or even millions of times of condensation. He would need to spend tens of years or even hundreds of years. This was based on his current cultivation base. If his cultivation base increased, the time needed would be greatly reduced. After 7 days and 7 nights, the entire minor divine prefecture's mountains and rivers had undergone earth-shattering changes. It was simply a miniature version of the minor divine prefecture. It was getting closer and closer. Moreover, some of the key and hidden nodes of the minor divine prefecture seemed to be breathing in and out with the real minor divine prefecture. Gu Chansha retracted his mana and drilled out from the depths of the earth. The 99 divine prefecture dragons once again condensed into one and became his body. This round of condensation gave him a deeper understanding of the great law of the divine land. It also caused an indelible and invincible shock to the more than 100,000 cultivators on the island, which was greatly beneficial to the improvement of his prestige. This minor divine prefecture's vitality. Wang Qingzhu's senses were the most acute. After Gu Chench's condensation, the minor divine prefecture's map changed. The entire minor divine prefecture became a complete formation. Then, there seemed to be a formation in the sky, like a pot cover. If someone flew in from the outside, they would encounter great resistance. This was the divine prefecture boundary that Gu Chansha had created. In order to prevent the vitality in the minor divine prefecture from leaking out, living beings who had cultivated the Great People's Salvation Scripture could enter and exit freely. The vitality in the minor divine prefecture was very fresh. With just a slight breath, the vitality would be absorbed into one's body, fusing into one's blood vessels. It would wash away waste gas, wash away impurities, purify one's cultivation base, destroy one's inner demons, extinguish one's inner fire, concentrate one's mind, and gather one's heart chi. Clouds and mist floated above the minor divine prefecture, emitting a natural fragrance. It seems a little similar to the heavenly dew. Wang Qingzhu absorbed a cloud and was instantly shocked. It's far from being as pure as the heavenly dew, but it already has a part of the heavenly dew's characteristics. The medicinal effect is only 1/10 of the heavenly dews, but this is still incredible. Unbelievable. The ancient heavenly dew can only be obtained through sacrifices. No matter how powerful one's mana is, they can't create it. Could it be that this Gu Chansha can create the heavenly dew? That's too terrifying. Wang Qingzhu increasingly felt that Gu Chansha was unfathomable and hard to fathom. At this moment, Gu Chansha was on the Azure Dragon Pagoda, looking at the minor divine prefecture that he had created again. He grabbed with his hand, and a drop of water appeared on his fingertip. This drop of water was somewhat similar to the heavenly dew. However, the effect was indeed only 1/10 of the heavenly dews. However, Gu Chench's face was filled with joy. Very good. My heavenly law technique has reached such a profound level that I can actually extract countless dimensional energies, refine, combine, decompose, and extract them. Through the purification of mana, there is hope for me to create the heavenly dew. The effect of the heavenly dew was not as good as many spiritual medicines, but it was still rare. Moreover, the heavenly dew had a special characteristic, which was that no matter how much one consumed it, there would be no side effects. It was suitable for both young and old. Even the human dragon pill that Gu Chansha had created was still inferior to the heavenly dew in terms of building a foundation for weak living beings. Chapter 5:15. Celestial dew was something that the Celestial Commerce Department needed very much, as it could be used to nurture all sorts of spirit herbs. It could even be used to strengthen the foundations of many disciples. For example, when an ordinary person consumed a human dragon pill, it was inevitable that they would not be able to refine it. The pill energy would first be stored in their body, and a portion would fuse with their body as they cultivated. Most of it would be wasted. With the help of the celestial dew, an ordinary person would be able to digest all the medicinal energy. However, the Celestial Commerce Department did not have any celestial dew now. Celestial dew was either obtained through sacrifices or obtained from the ancient heavenly suns. And now, Gu Chansha could actually directly create a portion of the heavenly dew's characteristics. This was also the authority of the heavenly Tao. As his cultivation improved, sooner or later, he would be able to create the true heavenly dew as well as the essence of the earth milk. Finally, when the heavenly dew and the earth milk fused together, it would become the water of heaven and earth, which had all sorts of wondrous uses. He waved his hand, and with the azure dragon tower as the center, a cloud flew over. Then, it started raining in a radius of tens of li. This rain was the celestial dew that he created, which only had a tenth of the effect. Although it was only a tenth of the effect, it still had many of the characteristics of the celestial dew. When it landed on the ground, many of the strange plants on the ground started to bloom, as if they were very happy. The plants were also in a good mood. Gu Chansha could feel it. As expected, this thing that resembles the celestial dew was created by this person. Wang Qingzhu had been paying attention to all the movements. With his cultivation base and divine sense, he could cover the entire Lesser Divine Province. Seeing that it was raining around Song Biochemical Dragon Tower, Wang Qingzhu was shocked once again. Although this is not the true heavenly dew, it still has 1/10 of the true heavenly dew. If it rains in this Lesser Divine Province for a long period of time, wouldn't this place surpass many other blessed lands? Compared to this, the sect that I created is not even worth mentioning. Gu Chansha had long sensed Wang Qingzhu's fluctuations and even knew what he was thinking. He just smiled coldly and wanted to make this person submit step by step. He had long been secretly controlling this person. As long as he had any ulterior motives, he would be detected, and the curse would activate, turning him into the same state as Ba Jufeng. This small divine prefecture had to be pure and could not tolerate any impurities. If Wang Qingzhu was sincere in doing things, it would be of great use to the small divine province. After all, a powerhouse of the 26 transformations, all techniques returned to one, was very rare. In the ape clan back then, the clan leader, Ape Huang, had only achieved 25 transformations of the undying body. Fortunately, with the construction of the minor god continent and the layout of the various formations, Jin Suebwa had control over the minor god continent. With this geographical advantage, even if it was a one-on-one battle, he might not be afraid of Wang Qingzhu. There was also Meng Yinyun, who was also a restless factor. Fortunately, she seemed to have gradually gotten used to the creation of the small Shenzhou, and her rebellious heart was much more careful than Wang Qingzhu. Gathering over 100,000 cultivators and training them with military methods, it's true that each and every one of their actions are methodical. It's true that they can gather a powerful force. However, the foundation of the small divine province is still rather shallow. If we don't rely on the power of the life's wish sphere, an expert with the 27 transformations of the seamless realm will be able to cause great damage, let alone a divine-level expert. Gu Qinsha could naturally see the inadequacies. After every 9 transformations, there would be earth-shattering changes. The first 9 transformations, the glass jade body, needless to say, increased one's lifespan to 300 years. The second 9 transformations, the Great Path Golden Elixir, increased one's lifespan to 1,000 years. The third 9 transformations, the Seamless Realm, had the ability to tear apart space and increased one's lifespan similarly. If Gu Qinsha relied on his own ability, he could easily defeat any expert with the 26 transformations, but against those with the 27 transformations, it would be very troublesome. When one cultivated to that level, each and every move would have the ability to tear apart space, and the accompanying space-tearing power was something that spiritual power could not withstand. This was equivalent to using innate gang qi to fight against the power of a golden elixir. There was no doubt that he would lose, as the difference in quality was too great. With Gu Qinsha here, there was nothing to be afraid of, but after he left, there was still the risk of destruction if an expert of this level came. He did not want anything to happen to the lesser divine state. After all, the defenses of the lesser divine state were insufficient, but it had already become a treasure trove, providing a steady stream of oaths and wish power for the common people's wish sphere. In time, the sphere's world power would accumulate more and more, and it would be enough for Gu Qinsha to squander. He would not be afraid of immortal-level experts, and he would be able to use it to do more things. The heavenly dew that I created only has 1/10 of the spiritual effects of the real heavenly dew, and it is still not perfect. It cannot be called heavenly dew. Let's just call it lesser heavenly dew. Gu Qinsha thought about it. Lesser divine state, lesser heavenly dew. Interesting. He modified the plates of this lesser divine state and created a barrier to seal off the essence qi. Next, he would have to think of how to expand it again, to expand and purify the wish power. 100,000 cultivators is still not enough. The population is too small. Right now, this lesser divine state, with a circumference of hundreds of thousands of miles, needs to have a population of at least 100 million. In the future, when I expand, I will create lesser wilderness, lesser eastern wilderness, and lesser western region. I will be able to accommodate more people. Gu Qinsha thought to himself. Of course, he had a plan. Overseeing this place, he trained more than 100,000 cultivators every day, and at the same time, he taught them all kinds of knowledge and cultivation techniques. Time passed quickly, and another 3 months passed. Nothing much happened in the world, and it continued to develop peacefully. Gu Tanjian, Wu Dangkong, Crown Prince Gu Qinsha, and even the legalism Dharma saint, Wu Clan, Martial Emperor, Black Heaven and Earth Sect, Nest of 10,000 Dragons, Black Yellow Dragon Emperor, and the Devil Race were all lying in wait, waiting for a huge opportunity. He was also waiting. Under his watch over the lesser divine state for the past 3 months, almost tens of thousands of people had been transferred over from other celestial sects. After some calculations, it had reached 150,000 cultivators. However, for the vast lesser divine state, this number was still a little too little. He was now personally chanting scriptures every day, covering the entire lesser divine state. All the cultivators were nourished by his scriptures, and their cultivation was improved. Moreover, they were more and more in agreement with his ideals. Even Wang Qingzhu, who had the highest cultivation, was less rebellious. The lesser divine state had been established for a long time, and for the first few months, Gu Qinsha was comprehending the mysteries in the sphere. He did not personally lead the team, and only in these 3 months, he personally led the team to train. Jin Suebua, on the other hand, was comprehending the Great Divine State Technique. He himself had obtained the 72 Great Divine State Technique, and he had comprehended it for 3 months. Jin Suebua would probably need to comprehend it for a year, or even a few years. At this time, Jin Suebua was in the Tsang Biochemical Dragon Pagoda. His body changed, and he deduced various images of the lesser divine state, but they were illusory and not real. They were much worse than the images that Gu Chansha had deduced. It was obvious that he was far from comprehending the supreme essence of the lesser divine state technique. If that's the case, I'll lend you a hand. Gu Chansha injected a wave of magic power into Jin Suebua's transformed body. After cultivating for so long, my peaceful days might be coming to an end. Xing Xinxiong is also in the demon domain, and he might have prepared enough sacrificial materials to activate and obtain the world-burying coffin. This change is the one that will determine the survival of the calming deities department. If we can successfully obtain the world-burying coffin, the calming deities department will truly obtain the power to protect ourselves, and we can also pacify the chaotic world and stabilize the prosperous era. If it is obtained by others, the calming deities department's luck will begin to decline, and we might not even have a good ending in the future. The next important thing for the calming deities department was to obtain the world-burying coffin. This coffin contained unfathomable and supreme mysteries, and it contained a great amount of power. It even contained the 7-star profound meaning that Jiang Gongwang had forcefully left behind, and countless treasures. If they could obtain the combined sphere of the common people's wish, this sphere would possess power that could completely rival the black gate of heaven and earth, and it would become their strongest trump card. This time, it could be said that only success was allowed, and failure was not allowed. Actually, in all these years of cultivation, Zhuge Ye had always been able to summon it, but he did not have much confidence, so he did not activate it. This time, Wu Dankong recruited Jiang Qi, and then Xing Qiongshi set up a trap, and Zhuge Ye set up another trap, all for the sake of fighting for the world-burying coffin. After being infused with Gu Chensh's huge magic power, Jin Suebua was cleansed. In an instant, thousands of twists and turns, and a violent sound exploded from within. He turned into a divine dragon and wandered in the air. Then he turned into a clear picture of the mountains and rivers of the divine continent, and once again condensed into his own body. After comprehending the great divine continent technique, he had already achieved some small success. Thank you, Your Highness, for using your magic power to enlighten me. Jin Suebua knelt on one knee, and his heart was filled with gratitude. It is reasonable for me to help you. Gu Chensh's voice rang out. In these 3 months, I have managed the little divine continent to a state of prosperity. The rest is up to you. I will not fail you. Jin Suebua was now filled with great confidence. Gu Chensha gave Jin Suebua a few more instructions, then leaped up and disappeared. He turned into a cool breeze and a cloud, heading straight for the divine central plains. The construction of the little divine continent was now on the right track. After 3 months of refinement, Gu Chansha had connected the ley lines in the sea, and the various formations were working together. More than 150,000 cultivators had gone through military training and were familiar with daily life. As long as Jin Suebua operated according to Gu Chensh's methods and continued to operate, the little divine continent would be able to expand steadily. Gu Chensha went to the Central Plains again to see what Gu Tanjian, Wu Dankong, and the others were up to. As expected, when he arrived in the Central Plains, he suddenly received a message from Gu Tanjian. He was actually in the old capital city, summoning him. At the same time, he also received a message from Wu Dankong, who was also in the old capital city. These people have finally gathered. What do they want? Gu Chensha was puzzled, but he knew that his chance had come. He landed in the old capital city and arrived at the branch of the Clearsky Chamber of Commerce. It was the place where Do 19 and Wu Dankong had last discussed. Chapter 516. The center of China was the Sin province, connected to the bottomless sea of Sin. It was where the aura of Sin gathered. The devil disasters in the past started from the bottomless sea of Sin. However, the center of China's province was not the Sin province, but the old capital city. Even now, the province of China had not moved. It was still in the old capital city. As for the capital city outside the pass, although it had started to gather providence, it was no longer in China. The location of the old capital city was crucial. It was like yin and yang with the Sin province. One was where the devil disasters broke out. The other was where spiritual opportunity flourished. Gu Qinsha studied the laws of the divine land. He had a completely different view of everything in the divine land. In his eyes, the old palace seemed to have become mysterious. The heavenly talisman emperor had set up a deep ambush here. Gu Qinsha landed on the top floor of the Mingkong Chamber of Commerce. He could already sense Gu Tanjian, Gu Xiansha, and Wu Dongkong's presences. Other than them, there was a 13 or 14-year-old youth. Gu Qinsha had already transformed into Wu Dongxing. He landed and looked at the youth. He did not understand why there was another person here at this gathering. Wu Dongxing, you're finally here? Wu Dangkong looked at Gu Qinsha in surprise. Your cultivation is so fast. You've cultivated to the 22 transformations of heaven and earth in just half a year, and the quality of your magic power is actually at the first level of the true dragon method. In order to increase his strength, Gu Qinsha transformed into Wu Dongxing and increased his cultivation by a lot. Anyway, the real Wu Dongxing was controlled by him. He could transform himself to increase the mystery. Of course, I have many fortuitous encounters. Gu Qinsha smiled coldly. His tone was very arrogant. He pointed at the youth and said, "Who is this? Why are you here? Are you Wu Dongxing? People say you're arrogant and overestimating yourself. Now it seems that it's true." The 13 or 14-year-old youth urged, but his tone was very impolite. "Little bastard, you're courting death." Gu Qinsha spread his fingers. His magic power pressed down, wanting to tear the 13 or 14-year-old youth apart. According to Wu Dongkong's personality, he would definitely do so. Stop. At this time, the ancient mystical sofa released its power and resisted Gu Qinsha's grasp. "This is my son, Gu Changjian. He was recently taken in as a disciple by the Dharma saint." "Brother Xing, don't be rash." "Dharma saint." On the surface, Gu Qinsha was startled. He stared fixedly at Gu Changjian, but in the depths of his heart, he had another thought. The Gu family was the imperial family, so the characters in their names were fixed. They were Sha, Jian, Nian, Sheng, Yuzu, Mo, Jie Yizhou. For now, there were only 8 words. Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian were both part of the 3rd generation. However, in the last 10 years, Gu Tanjian had suddenly emerged as a new force. His influence was so great that it had already surpassed those of his imperial uncles. Even Gu Xiansha didn't dare to call himself uncle in front of him. It is almost the 26th year of Heaven Talisman. In the blink of an eye, 12 years have passed. I came of age at the 14th year of Heaven Talisman when I was 15. Now I am 26. If I get married at 15, my child will be around 10 years old. Gu Qinsha laughed in his heart and suddenly became wary. The Dharma saint actually took in this Gu Changjian as a disciple? Even I didn't expect this move. What is he doing? Logically speaking, the Dharma saint should support Gu Fasha. Why did he turn around and support Gu Xiansha? Or is it because Gu Xiansha is the crown prince? The 7th prince, Gu Fasha, was originally the one with the highest hopes of becoming the crown prince. His cultivation was second to none among the princes. Back then, when Gu Fasha had just left the mountain and had not reached the Dao realm, he had already cultivated the 9 transformations glass jade body. The difference was so great that it was almost incomparable. But because of his talent, Gu Fasha couldn't improve at all. Instead, Gu Qinsha and the others caught up, and he was no longer a famous person. But Gu Qinsha also knew that Gu Fasha was very deep and could endure. Maybe there would be a chance for him to explode again. Gu Qinsha knew that many factions might be after the royal bloodline. Every prince might be chosen. He knew how powerful the royal bloodline was. If it wasn't for the heavenly talisman Great Emperor's bloodline, he wouldn't have been able to cultivate the heavenly Tao art. The news of the Dharma saints' return wasn't a secret to the upper aristocratic families. Many of them were facing a great enemy, especially the Wu family, Fan family, Hung family, Lei family, and Hong family. They knew that the legalism school might swallow them up, so they seemed to be working together. With a thought, he came back to his senses. His expression was extremely ugly. To Gu Tanjian and the others, this Wudong Xing in front of them was extremely afraid of the Dharma saint. This was human nature. As an ancient great sage, the Dharma saint was the human race's #1 saint. Now that he had returned, it was obvious that he had broken through some mysterious realm and surpassed the saints. Many of the aristocratic family's deity tier old-timers were afraid, so it was normal for the Wudong Xing to be afraid. All right, let's work together. We have an important meeting this time, so there's no need to get angry over small things. Gu Tanjian's voice sounded out. His aura grew deeper and deeper, and Gu Chansha was shocked to find that he had also broken through to the 23 transformations. Ha ha ha! A voice rang out. A person appeared in the guest hall. It was F.A. Wuxian. Gu Chansha immediately discovered that he had also broken through to the 23 transformations, past reflection. Wudong Xing, I didn't expect you to have such great fortuitous encounters. It seems that you obtained many benefits from the martial emperor and even plotted against him. You really are an ungrateful person. Anyone who cooperates with you has to be wary of being bitten by you. F.A. Wuxian immediately targeted the Wudong Xing Yu. Gu Chansha, who was Wudong Xing, glared at Gu Tanjian. He knew that Gu Tanjian must have leaked some information. Brother Wudong Xing, please calm down. Gu Tanjian's expression did not change. After I went back, I carefully thought about your plan for a long time. I realized that with our current strength, I'm afraid we'll just be working for them. When the time comes, the martial emperor will not be able to capture us, and we'll be in danger. I didn't expect Brother Bouncing Sword to be so cowardly. You don't dare to take a big gamble. Gu Chansha sneered. I'm just being cautious and taking things one step at a time. Gu Tanjian ignored Gu Chansha's sarcasm. Moreover, Brother Wudong Xing's ambition is too great. I'm afraid I'll also fall into your trap. When the time comes, I'm afraid it won't be worth it. Brother Bouncing Sword, why are you guarding against me? Gu Chansha hurriedly said, I still need to rely on the alliance leader for many things. Moreover, if the alliance leader doesn't make a move, I'm afraid that the martial emperor's cultivation will improve greatly after such a long time. Our chances will be even slimmer. It's fine. Let's put the matter of the martial emperor aside for now. Gu Tanjian stared at Gu Chansha. Brother Wudong Xing, why did your cultivation improve so quickly? If it was just you, I will believe in your plan. However, there's a big shot behind you, so I have to reconsider. The martial emperor is harsh and ungrateful. He won't completely believe you and won't give you many benefits. That's a secret. The big shot behind me doesn't allow me to reveal any information about him. However, this person is definitely world-shaking. He's not weaker than the Dharma saint. Gu Chansha suddenly had a thought. What a joke. At this moment, the 13-year-old Gu Changjian refuted. The Dharma saint broke free from the shackles of the heavenly Tao and was reborn. His cultivation can shake the universe. I'm afraid that even the 3 heavenly venerables can't do anything to him. You're so arrogant to say such things. Brat, what do you know? Gu Chansha didn't hide the killing intent in his heart. Do you think that the Dharma saint accepted you as a disciple because of your talent and aptitude? Actually, the Dharma saint is only after the heavenly talisman sovereign's bloodline in your body. He'll use you as an ingredient for refining medicine. Sooner or later, your bloodline will be sucked dry. Brother Xinsha, don't tell me you don't know about this. These blatant words caused the expressions of Gu Xinsha and his son, Gu Changjian, to change. They originally had doubts in their hearts, but after being pointed out by Gu Xinsha, their hearts immediately became clear. They were actually speechless. I'd like to know who's behind you, Wudong Xing. How dare you say that you've surpassed the Dharma saint? F.A. Wuxian also didn't hide his killing intent towards Wudong Xing. Alliance leader, I can tell you this secret. And it's very important. Gu Chansha turned to Gu Tanjian and said, I wonder if you can give me some benefits, Alliance Leader. Brother Dang Xing, you really can take out anything to sell. Is this information really worth a lot? You actually have someone who can compete with the Dharma Saint? I'm really curious. Tell me, how much are you going to sell this secret to me? Gu Tanjian smiled playfully. How about a strand of holy dragon aura? Gu Qinsha said to Gu Tanjian. I also want to make a natural-born saint to play with. I don't have that aura. Gu Tanjian waved his hand. Also, I don't think your information is worth that much. Then there's nothing else I can do. Gu Qinsha spread his hands. If you don't know this information, I'm afraid that Alliance Leader will not be able to escape the restraints of the Great Spirit God and Voodoo Progenitor. Only by relying on this existence behind me will I have a chance to counterattack. Is that so? As Gu Tanjian waved his hand, a stream of air wrapped around Gu Qinsha. Brother Dang Xing, let's talk about this in private. Alliance Leader, it seems that you really want to escape the restraints of the Great Spirit God and Voodoo Progenitor, Gu Qinsha said. I really don't have the Holy Dragon Aura, but I do have an artifact, Gu Tanjian said. This artifact is not inferior to your Lightning Slayer sword. How about it? I'll use this artifact to exchange for it. As he spoke, he took out an identical sword. This sword was densely covered in scales, and the scales seemed to have many eyes. The sword exuded a demonic aura, indicating that it was a demonic artifact. This is the Thousand Eyes Demon Sword. It was refined by a demon emperor who had cultivated to the 29 transformations, the Thousand Eyes Demon Emperor. Before he died, he poured all his energy into this sword, Gu Tanjian said. Alliance Leader, the number of artifacts you have is incredible. Previously, I received a fragment of the 4 Stars map as a reward, but I haven't received another fragment yet. Gu Qinsha said, this Thousand Eyes Demon sword isn't very useful to me. When I use this sword, I have to guard against the Demon Emperor's will. Chapter 517. He had obtained some information about the Immortal Master from Hong Wending, which was very valuable. With a thought, he felt that he could pretend to be the Immortal Master's man and cheat Gu Tanjian's cooperation. On one hand, he could obtain the artifact, and on the other hand, he could use this opportunity to stop Xing Qianxiong from obtaining the World Burial Coffin. If it was just Xing Qianxiong, he wouldn't be afraid at all and could even suppress him. However, Xing Qianxiong had the Xing Qiong clan behind him, and this matter wouldn't be easy. He had to introduce variables and find a chance of survival from them. Fishing in troubled waters. This was what he had always been good at. If he could also cheat Gu Tanjian of treasures, why not? Who exactly is behind you? Gu Tanjian wasn't a fool, and of course, he wouldn't give Gu Qinsha the artifact so easily. Previously, I gave you the Map of Stars fragment, but you haven't really helped me yet. You've wronged me. Gu Qinsha quickly said, my plan is for Alliance Head to obtain the Ancestral Sorcerer Bone Plate and set up a curse on it, causing the Martial Emperor to be cursed without knowing it. Then, the Martial Emperor will use this bone plate to cultivate to the Martial Saint's paradise, and I will provoke him to fight against the 9 Wu clan's God-grade experts. Then, when both sides are injured, we will activate the curse and obtain everything. Unfortunately, the most crucial point is that Alliance Head didn't give me the Ancestral Sorcerer Bone Plate. How can I execute this plan? Once this is done, we probably won't be able to gain any benefits. You want to take over the Martial Saint's paradise, suppress the 9 God-grade experts, and destroy a Saint clan. Your appetite is too big. If it could be done, the Great Spirit God would have done it long ago. Martial Saint's legacy will definitely come out to interfere, and we will become the target of public criticism. Gu Xingjian said, you don't have absolute confidence in this. It's too risky. Although it said that riches come from danger, it's too risky, and the success rate isn't high. More importantly, Wudong Xing, I'm afraid you've even schemed against me. What are you talking about, Alliance Leader? Even if I can scheme against you, don't you have the support of the Great Spirit God? Gu Qinsha quickly replied. Tell me, Gu Tanjian said. Let's see who's behind you. If you're valuable, I can give you more than this. In the demon domain, there are exiled disciples from ancient times who have gathered together to form an alliance, Gu Qinsha said. As for the leader of this alliance, he is called the Immortal Master. I wonder if the alliance chief knows about this? Immortal Master? When Gu Tanjian heard this name, he was at a loss. However, he seemed to communicate with some kind of existence and asked about the origin of this name. After a while, his expression changed drastically. Celestial Master. It's actually the Celestial Master. You've sided with her? Have you become her man? It seems like the Alliance Chief has received news about the Celestial Master from the Great Spirit God. How is it? Gu Qinshan knew that his deception was effective. Look at me. I'm not a natural-born sage, but I've cultivated the first level of the True Dragon technique. Although I can't compare to Fa Wuxian, Wu Dangkong, and the Alliance Chief's 5 levels of the True Dragon technique, it's still the True Dragon technique. These are all bestowed upon me by the Celestial Master. What's a martial emperor? In front of the Celestial Master, it's just child's play. Your cultivation speed is too fast. Only the legendary Celestial Master can make you so strong. Gu Tanjian believed it without a doubt. Who knew what he had received from the Great Spirit God? Gu Qinsha's heart stirred. He wanted to use the Heavenly Tao technique to enter Gu Tanjian's memories and see what the Great Spirit God had told him. However, he resisted. He was afraid that if the Great Spirit God found out, the gains would not make up for the losses. How is it? Alliance Chief, we can make a deal now, right? Gu Qinsha said with a smile. You're really in contact with the Celestial Master and have pledged your allegiance to him. This Celestial Master's strength is really unfathomable. If you can form a relationship with him, the benefits will be huge. Gu Tanjian frowned. However, why should I trust you completely? Alliance Chief, you've been too paranoid recently. Think about it. Since the Alliance Chief's treasures are the Great Spirit Gods, it's not a pity. And it seems that the Great Spirit God also wants to seduce the Celestial Master. Gu Qinsha probed. No, the Great Spirit God means to never get close to the Celestial Master. He's an extremely dangerous existence. In the end, Gu Tanjian still managed to get some secrets out of him. Is that so? Then, this is also the best chance for the Alliance Chief to get rid of the Great Spirit God. Gu Qinsha said alarmingly. That Dharma saint has already set his sights on that brat, Gu Changjian. Sooner or later, he'll extract his bloodline. I think the Great Spirit God has been raising the Alliance Chief for too long. I'm afraid the Alliance Chief won't be able to escape his clutches in the end. That's right. Gu Tanjian seemed to have made up his mind. He handed the 1,000-eyed demon sword to Gu Qinsha. I'll give you this demon sword first. As long as you help me form a relationship with the Celestial Master, I still have the chi of the Holy Dragon here. It's enough to turn you into a natural-born saint. As he spoke, a crystal bottle appeared in Gu Tanjian's hand. Within the crystal bottle, there was an extremely mysterious aura brewing. It seemed to contain the aura of a sage, as well as dragon chi. It was many times stronger than the dragon nurturing chi and dragon creation chi. Vaguely, Gu Qinsha could see a sage dragon with a human head and a dragon body appearing in the air current. This was the highest level of the desolate dragon sect, the chi of the Holy Dragon. If one could obtain this chi of the Holy Dragon, they would be able to become a natural-born saint. When Gu Qinsha saw the chi of the Holy Dragon, he was tempted. If he could obtain it, he could at least give it to Lu Baiyue, allowing her to become a natural-born saint. Although Lu Baiyue's cultivation was high, she seemed to have reached some kind of bottleneck. She was unable to activate the bloodline that the Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor had passed down to her, causing her cultivation to stagnate. In the past, she had far surpassed Gu Qinsha, but now she had been surpassed by Gu Qinsha. Gu Qinsha wanted to think of a way to help Lu Baiyue improve. It would be best if he could obtain the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra. That way, the Dragon Nurturing Heart Sutra, Dragon Creation Sutra, and Holy Dragon Heart Sutra could combine the 3 dragons into one to obtain the deepest secrets of the desolate dragon sect. However, the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra had never appeared since ancient times. The three celestial venerables had only obtained the Dragon Nurturing Heart Sutra and Dragon Creation Sutra. Even the Great Spirit God might have only obtained the chi of the Holy Dragon, but not the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra. Looks like I can only pretend to be Hong Wending and establish a relationship with the Immortal Master. Gu Chansha thought to himself, but that Immortal Master seems to be unfathomable. Could he see through my transformation? Amidst his contemplation, he came to an agreement with Gu Tanjian. He then tricked Gu Tanjian into giving him a 1,000-eyes devil sword. This sword's prowess was extraordinary, but he could sense that there was also a curse on it. Gu Tanjian was worried about him. However, he was proficient in the art of curses. In his eyes, Gu Tanjian's curses were just child's play. Especially after he learned the Divine Prefecture's 72 levels, there were many ways to dispel curses. Xing Qingshi's life's work was actually child's play. After Gu Chansha and Gu Tanjian came to an agreement, they returned to the meeting hall. Wu Dankong, Gu Xiansha, Fa Wuxian, and Gu Changjian looked at the two of them. They knew that the two of them had come to some kind of agreement. What scheme did the two of you come up with? Fa Wuxian's eyes were vigilant. He was very wary of Gu Tanjian. Originally, he was lawless. However, after failing time and time again, he restrained himself. He could also see that Gu Tanjian had the potential to become a sage. Brother Wuxian, you don't have to worry about this. Gu Tanjian said, I didn't expect that someone as arrogant as Brother Wuxian would come out of seclusion to assist concubine Ming. I think the Dharma Saint is behind this. Gu Chensh's voice was sharp. He tried his best to destroy the alliance between these people. The Dharma Saint has broken free from the heavenly Tao's restraints. There must be some drawbacks. He hasn't recovered his full strength, yet he wants to seize the heaven sacrifice decree in the sky. Right? How could I not know about the legalism schemes? The powerful existence behind me already knew about this. If the Dharma Saint had his full strength, he would have swept through all the aristocratic families and gathered them as one. Our Wu clan knows that the legalism isn't anything good. The 9 old ancestors already sent me to keep an eye on you. Wu Dankong, you're trying to sow discord. Fa Wuxian's killing intent was dense. Be careful of dying. Fa Wuxian, your magic power might be profound, but I'm not afraid of you. Be careful when you walk. Don't think that you are really a sage just because you have the potential to become a sage. Since ancient times, there were many natural sages who died before they became sages. Gu Qinsha didn't give in at all. He wanted to sow discord between the Wu clan and the legalism. Moreover, he could really find an opportunity to disguise the rise and fall of Wudong and Fa Wuxian. With his current strength, even 10 Fa Wuxian wouldn't be a match for him. All right, the Wu clan and the legalism are both aristocratic families. Don't be estranged because of this. It was unknown what Wu Dankong was thinking. She said, the reason why we are gathering this time is because of the calming immortal department's matter. According to my information in the Immortal Tao, that kid Gu Chansha gathered a large number of the sect masters of the second and third-rate Immortal Tao sects, as well as the experts of the sects, to build an island overseas. It has already taken shape. There are more than 100,000 cultivators on that island. When they gather together, it will be an extremely huge force. Moreover, they have started to nurture the creatures in the sea and gather the power of the vow, causing the common people's wish sphere to accumulate more and more vigorous. Right now, the calming immortal department has already suppressed us from 3 aspects: the people, the bureaucracy, and the immortal Tao. We can't move at all. We can't even retaliate or do anything. Even the Merchant Association's business has been greatly reduced. I'm afraid that in another 2 or 3 years, our power in the imperial court and among the people will only exist in name. The calming immortal department is like a nation's master. They are pressing forward step by step and have completely blocked our throat. Crown Prince Gu Xinsha also felt that there was basically no way to retaliate. They established the Common People's Wish Academy and used the Dragon Nurturing Mantra, Dragon Creation Mantra, Human Dragon Elixir, Human Dragon Armor, and human dragon sword as temptations to drive the thoughts of the people. The fourth even contacted the officials and sent the talented people in the academy to be the officials' aides, controlling the world. The bureaucracy is also basically controlled. As a crown prince, I, concubine Ming, and the upper study can only watch. Chapter 518. That's right. More than half of the ministers in the imperial court study believe that the Celestial Communist Bureau can properly manage the court. As for the 3 dukes and 8 marquises, they've all sided with the Celestial Communist Bureau. At first, Marquis Ironblood supported me, believing that I was the rightful crown prince. However, after Marquis Jusher's persuasion, he's now cooperating with me. According to the Celestial Communist Bureau, the 6 Doors Gate, the Ironblood Guard, the Apprehension Office, and the other government offices have recently recruited a large number of people. All of them are disciples of the Common People's Wishes Institute. We basically don't have any power anymore. Crown Prince Gu Xinsha sighed, as if he were holding a bitter fruit in his mouth. Most importantly, the Celestial Communist Bureau has a righteous reputation. Imperial Father bestowed upon them a command medallion, which is equivalent to an imperial edict. We can't disobey it. I know that command medallion was bestowed upon Liu Baiwei. F.A. Wuxian clasped his hands behind his back and said coldly, "Find a time to kill Liu Baiwei and take the command medallion. Won't that solve the problem?" It's not that easy. Gu Chunsha immediately mocked. F.A. Wuxian, your words are bigger than the heavens, but in reality, you're completely useless. Do you think you can scheme against the Lord of 7 Stars? As far as I know, you lost to Jing Xiu, and Jing Xiu lost to Zhuge. Every day you clamor about capturing and killing this and that. Who do you think you are? Wudong Xing. F.A. Wuxian flew into a rage. Do you think I won't kill you right now? Kill me? Let's not even talk about whether or not you have the ability, Gu Chunsha said with a cold laugh. If you touch me, the Dharma Saint won't be able to bear the consequences. You're just bluffing. F.A. Wuxian stepped closer and closer, as if he were about to attack. Let's see what kind of powerful backer you have. You actually dare to brag that you're on par with the Dharma Saint. Brother Wuxian, said Gu Tanjian, you really won't be able to bear the consequences. The Dharma Saint and the entire school of legalism won't be able to either. He also disliked F.A. Wuxian. F.A. Wuxian had always been arrogant and unruly. He looked down on all the heroes in the world. This time, he actually came out to help Wu Dankong. This made Gu Tanjian feel even more uncomfortable, as if there was a fishbone stuck in his throat. Gu Tanjian, Gu Xinsha, and Wu Dankong merged their factions and formed the World Alliance. Originally, Gu Tanjian was the leader, but Wu Dankong didn't back down. With the Xingqiong clan's help, the two of them were evenly matched. However, now that F.A. Wuxian had joined and supported Wu Dankong, the situation immediately became one-sided. Gu Tanjian was at a complete disadvantage. In Gu Tanjian's heart, he could not wait to refine F.A. Wuxian and get rid of this eyesore. However, F.A. Wuxian had the support of the Dharma Saint, so he couldn't do anything. Gu Tanjian, you're also boasting shamelessly here. Hearing that, F.A. Wuxian hesitated for half a step. He knew that behind Wudong Xing, there really was a mighty existence comparable to the Dharma Saint. Enough! Wu Dankong slapped the table. Now isn't the time for internal strife. If we fight here, the people of the calming immortal agency will unite and become stronger day and night. Given time, will there still be a chance for us to make a comeback? That's right. We can't fight among ourselves. Gu Tanjian nodded. The people of the calming immortal agency, Gu Chansha, Liu Baiwei, Zhuge, Gu Huasha, and Jin Suebua, are all working together to suppress our living space. If we fight among ourselves, we will all be destroyed one by one. At that time, we will all die without a burial place. Especially that Gu Chunsha. He is not a kind person. He has endured since he was young, and once he gained power, he became cruel and merciless. Almost all of his enemies' souls and flesh were taken away by him to feed the heavenly demon tree. He talks about benevolence, righteousness, and the common people. His methods are even more vicious than those of the demonic path. Is there any way to turn the situation around? Gu Xiansha was at his wit's end. Father, things haven't reached a point where we can't do anything, Gu Changjian suddenly said. Oh, what ideas do you have? Let's hear them. Everyone looked at this youth. The calming immortal agency has a huge flaw. Although we have the sphere of the common people's wish, without a deity-level expert to drive it, it's just child's play. We can't unleash its true might. As Gu Changjian spoke, his expression was bright and radiant. Gu Chencha's heart stirred. This kid has some talent. He's definitely not simple. How could I have seen so much at that time? This is a most fatal flaw. Actually, as long as we launch an all-out attack, using our foundation and the major powers behind us, it won't be difficult to break through the calming immortal agency. It's just that it's hard for us to make up our minds. Gu Changjian continued, Of course, I can understand everyone's worries. You're just afraid that the heavenly talisman emperor will suddenly come out of seclusion. In truth, this is a mistake. The world is in full swing, and the devil calamity is about to erupt. If the heavenly talisman emperor could come out, he would have long come to suppress the situation. I've studied hard since I was young, and I've gained some insights over the years. I've also carefully analyzed the heavenly talisman emperor's style of governance. He's always prepared for a rainy day, eliminating everything invisibly. Not appearing now is definitely not his style. Therefore, there's no meaning in worrying about such an illusory matter. Then what do you think? F.A. Wushin asked. The most important thing now is to cut through the Gordian knot, dealing a destructive blow to the calming immortal agency among the people and the immortal Tao. A ferocious glint flashed in Gu Changjian's eyes. Concubine Ming's train of thought isn't bad. Set up the sun and moon agency and capture the foreign races. At the same time, capture all the officials under the heavens. Whoever dares to interact with the calming immortal agency will be immediately captured and thrown into prison. At the same time, we'll also capture the advisors of the calming immortal agency as spies. I don't believe that we won't be able to curb the momentum of the calming immortal agency's development. This is one of the reasons. The second reason is to contact the devil race and send devil god level experts to launch an attack on the calming immortal agency. At the same time, we'll contact the immortal Tao mystical sects and launch a destructive attack on the cave abode overseas. With these three methods, the calming immortal agency will immediately collapse. You're a vicious brat. Gu Qinsha laughed coldly. Humph. Gu Changjian snorted coldly and glared at Gu Qinsha's incarnation of Wudong Xing. In short, we can no longer remain silent. If we remain silent, we'll allow the calming immortal agency to develop and gather the hearts of the officials, the people, and the immortal Tao mystical sections. What else can we do but retreat step by step? What's more, it's not that the calming immortal agency's gathering is useless. Rather, it's gathering the power of oaths and wishes. This power can nurture spheres that will grow stronger and stronger. We can't endure any longer. We have to launch a thunderous attack. Wu Dankong nodded. If we continue to endure, we'll be expelled from the court and become traitors. There's no other path we can take. The calming immortal agency is pressing forward step by step. It's truly frightening. As arrogant as F.A. Wuxian was when he thought about the general situation of the world, he had to admit that the crown prince and Wu Dankong, the bright concubine who was supervising the state, were at a complete disadvantage. This was especially true for Wu Dankong. His reputation was stinking. Among the scholars, the common people, and some of the second- and third-rate rich and powerful families, Wu Dankong was known as a treacherous concubine. She was a treacherous official through and through. Many groups among the common people had begun to boycott the Clearsky Merchant Group, causing its business to plummet. Coupled with the calming immortal agency's constant pressure, they were on the verge of collapse. The crown prince, Gu Xiansha, had only gained the reputation of being a coward. Everything else was fine. We can't get entangled. If we get entangled, we won't be a match for the calming immortal agency at all in terms of public opinion and officialdom. We can only launch a thunderous attack, and we have to be fast. The longer this drags on, the less chance we have of success. The calming immortal agency's growth is too terrifying. If we are delayed for 2 or 3 years, we won't stand a chance at all. Gu Changjian's tone was stern. I feel that father and bright concubine will work together to issue an official document to clean up the court and reorganize the bureaucracy. Then, all the aristocratic families and many princes will respond and change their minds. Brother Zijian can do this. Right now, those royal uncles are relying on Brother Zijian. Secondly, senior brother Wuxian can contact the infernal domain. We can also contact the Crimson Firmament Mystic Sect, the Black Heaven Earth Mystic Sect, the Nine Swords Mystic Gate, and the other sects that have a deep grudge against the calming immortal agency and attack the Immortal Tao Alliance's cave abode. With these 3 methods, we will definitely be able to catch the calming immortal agency off guard. This kid is sinister and ruthless. He's quite the character. Furthermore, a newborn calf isn't afraid of tiger. Gu Chensha sneered inwardly. But if he thinks he can defeat the calming immortal agency with just these 3 methods, then he's taking it too lightly. Since I've transformed into Wudong Xing, I can use my schemes to obtain more opportunities. Then, I'll make your alliance collapse and suffer the consequences of your actions. Rather than sitting around and waiting for death, why not take the risk? Wu Dangkong, Fa Wuxian, Gu Xiansha, and Gu Tanjian all agreed. Gu Qinsha hurriedly said, "That's feasible, but we'll need to come up with a detailed plan. As soon as we make a move, the Lord of 7 Stars, Zhuge, will immediately find out. He'll be able to deduce our movements from the smallest clues and deal a devastating blow to us. Zhuge doesn't matter. Even if he has 3 heads and 6 arms, he's too busy right now." Wu Dangkong waved his hand, as if he had absolute confidence. That Zhuge is said to be flawless, but this time he suffered a huge loss. I obtained the Peerless Heaven book. Gu Qinsha immediately knew that it was definitely the matter of the world-burying coffin that had stalled Zhuge. However, Wu Dangkong would never have imagined, not even in his wildest dreams, that the Department of Tranquil Immortals had already grasped the plan and had even obtained the 72 Divine Prefecture Great Arts, which could completely make up for the loss of the Peerless Heavenly Scripture. Gu Chansha had comprehended the Divine Prefecture Grand Technique, and his comprehension of the Tao of divergent numbers had deepened. The Common People Mending Heaven technique was also more complete, and he was able to deduce more things. More importantly, with the Tao of divergent numbers, he could resist the summons of the heavenly Taos. This allowed him to easily circulate his magic power, and it was as if he had broken free from some sort of predetermined fate. Using the Divine Prefecture Grand Technique, he created the small Divine Prefecture in an exquisite manner. He could even create a 10th of the Sky Dew's effect. He sat in the small Divine Prefecture for 3 months, activating his magic power to rain down the Sky Dew. Now, the small Divine Prefecture could be compared to some of the ancient Xian sect's grotto heavens. The cultivators within didn't even want to leave. This wasn't all. Many cultivators also started to cultivate the Dragon Raising Heart technique. The dragon raising energy gathered and pierced through the small Divine Prefecture. Day and night, dragon energy flourished deep underground. The construction speed of the small Divine Prefecture far exceeded the imagination of these people. I'll head to the demon region and persuade the demon god to deal with the calming immortal agency. Fa Wuxian had wanted to do this a long time ago. Chapter 519. As Gu Qinsha's Wudong Xing was discussing, a large portion of his mind was already communicating with the life's wish sphere. Zhuge was within it, using the mysteries of the sphere. He was also paying close attention to the changes in the demon region. The Department of Tranquil Deities had a complete grasp of everything that Xing Qianxiong and Jiang Qi were doing in the depths of the demon region. Zhuge had obtained the 72 layers of divine prefecture's great dharma, and he was also cultivating diligently. Gu Chensha saw that the mana in his body was constantly changing, and as it wriggled, it seemed like he was about to break through the immortal body. It was true that Gu Chensha treated Zhuge Ye quite well. It could be said that he had shared everything with Zhuge Ye, including the great massacre god art, the son of heaven's god sealing art, and other ultimate arts. He even shared his experiences. As long as Gu Chensha knew something, he would definitely pass it on to Zhuge Ye. Zhuge Ye had acquired various secret techniques that surpassed any saint since ancient times. Furthermore, he was cultivating in the sphere of the people's wish, surrounded by the 4 sacred beasts, the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise. Furthermore, he had the Tai pearl, a treasure that was the essence of chaos. His cultivation speed had even surpassed that of Jiang Gongwang in the past. Even the primordial era's Jiang Gongwang didn't have such good cultivation conditions. What was even more amazing was that Gu Chensha had used his heavenly Tao Dharma cultivation to condense the Tree of Wishes. The feedback of the Tree of Wishes to him was very likely to allow him to make some kind of breakthrough. In other words, he might break through the 9-5 True Dragon Dharma realm and reach 9-6, 9-7, or even 9-8 and 9-9. Although it was impossible for him to cultivate the Heaven Tao technique, it wasn't impossible for him to raise the quality of his power to the 9-9 True Dragon technique, like the Dharma Saint. Moreover, Zhuge Ye had been working hard to comprehend the divergent. Mr. Zhuge seems like he is about to achieve the undying body. He is at the Tao realm 25 transformations. A portion of Gu Chencha's consciousness was communicating with Zhuge Ye. An incarnation appeared in the life's wish sphere. Cultivating this transformation will indeed increase one's magic power, and I'll definitely be able to use it to break through to the 9-6 True Dragon magic. However, it won't be of much help to the Celestial Serenity Department. Zhuge Ye said, the Dharma Saint has started his plan. He has accepted Gu Xuansha's son, Gu Changjian, as his disciple. We must not underestimate him. That kid is sinister and ruthless, and his methods are extremely ruthless. He's young, but he's experienced and profound, so he naturally can't be underestimated. As for this motley crew's counterattack against our calming immortal department, it doesn't matter too much. Now that the whole world is united, they won't be able to make any big movements. Gu Chensha said confidently, as long as we obtain the world-burying coffin, everything will be solved. In these few months, Xing Qianxiong and Jiang Qi have gained quite a lot in the demon realm. They've captured countless demon experts and even sealed a few demons that are close to reaching the demon god level. For example, there are some demons at the 27, 28, and 29 Tao realm. Zhuge Ye pointed at a huge mirror in front of them. Gu Chensha looked over and saw that Xing Qianxiong and Jiang Qi were refining a demon lamp. This demon lamp seemed to contain a peerless fiendish power. Within the flames of the devil lantern, there seemed to be countless powerful ghosts wailing. As expected, Gu Chensha saw a devil emperor of the 29 transformations being imprisoned. The flame of the lamp was a small world, and the countless demons imprisoned inside were entangling with each other, which in turn increased the fierceness of the flame. This is the divine prefecture demon sealing lamp, the ultimate technique of the Xingqiang clan. This lamp can create a world and seal demons, allowing the demons to be imprisoned and whipped inside to increase the power of the demon lamp. Gu Chensha recognized it. The cultivation process of this magic treasure was one of the 72 levels of the divine prefecture great technique. They've more or less collected enough demons' souls, flesh, and blood. Zhuge Ye said, after all, Xing Qianxiong has a divine grade armor, and he has devoured the peerless heaven scripture. His fierceness surpasses many demon gods, and he has the Xingqiang clan behind him. No demons in the demon domain dare to provoke him. The number of demons he has captured in the past 3 months far exceeds what Dome 19 captured. I can feel it. Gu Chunsha was a little tempted. If we can get this demon lamp and let the wish tree absorb it, the tree can expand several times. Not only will the production of our human dragon armor, human dragon sword, and human dragon pill increase several times, the quality will also increase. The medicinal effects of the pills produced will be stronger, the armor will be stronger, and the sword will be sharper. There's no rush. This is nothing. This lamp imprisons a large number of demonic souls, and it is used to summon them to obtain the world-burying coffin. Next, I think that Xing Qianxiong will fly out of the demon area and find a secret place to set up an altar. When that time comes, it will give us an opportunity to take advantage of Zhuge, you said. As long as we are patient, we will definitely reap great rewards. That brat Gu Changjian's 3 venomous schemes can only threaten us by contacting the devil race. Many devil god-level experts will join hands to deal with our tranquil immortal department, said Gu Qinsha. As for the other things happening among the people, we can crush them with a flip of our hand. Our central force is the 360 common people's marshals, and they are connected to your highness. Recently, these common people's marshals have improved, and it's all because of your highness cultivation. If your highness can improve, the common people's marshals will also improve, Zhuge said. The 360 common people's generals had reached stage 5 true dragon technique. They had become a force that shocked the world. What kind of concept was the 5th stage true dragon technique? They were existences that were born when a saint's talent was cultivated to the extreme. In other words, the calming immortal department had 360 disciples with the 22 transformations of heaven and earth that were born with the aptitude of a sage. With such a huge force, it was easy for them to do all sorts of things. Liu Baiwei and the 4th Guhua Sha were able to deal with the officials of the Common People's Wish Academy and the Imperial Court in a short period of time. These 360 Common People's generals played a huge role. Many aristocratic families and celestial path mysterious sects didn't understand why puppets could cultivate the true dragon technique. This was something that was almost impossible to happen in all of history. Just this point alone shocked a large number of powers, and they didn't dare to act rashly. They were afraid that the calming Xian department had other powerful existences. I've swindled quite a few good things from Gu Xingjian recently. There's a broken star map and a 1,000-eyed demon sword. They can be devoured by the wishing tree, Gu Qinsha said. There's no need for the map of stars. I can deduce the location of the other fragments and obtain the treasure of the goddess of stars. Zhuge was very confident. How will your highness disrupt these people's plans? I originally wanted to impersonate Do 19 and kill Fa Wuxian again to stir up conflict between the legalists and the 3 heavenly venerables. But it seems like that won't work. Gu Qinsha said, we'll start with Gu Tanjian and stir up conflict. This alliance is in a state of disunity. The main reason we can't kill Fa Wuxian is because of the Dharma Saint. There seemed to be a competitive look in Zhuge Ye's eyes. The appearance of the Dharma Saint has indeed disrupted the situation, making it impossible for me to calculate all kinds of situations. War is unpredictable, and water is unpredictable. We still have the upper hand. Gu Qinsha and Zhuge Ye came up with many new plans as they discussed. A long while later, Gu Qinsha secretly withdrew his thoughts. In the Clearsky Chamber of Commerce in the old capital city, many people had already discussed the specific details of how to deal with the calming Xian department. All right, we'll do as we've discussed. Wu Dankong made the final decision. We'll start immediately, as long as Fa Wuxian can persuade the demon god-level experts in the demon domain to join forces and attack the sphere of the calming Xian department. The Crown Prince and I will immediately mobilize the court and strike the calming Xian department with a thunderous blow. I have my own candidate to contact the immortal Tao. I wonder who you've chosen, Your Highness? Gu Tanjian's expression changed. It's definitely someone with great influence in the profound immortal Tao. Don't think that Jin Suebua has made a name for himself in the immortal Tao. He's actually just a small fry. Wu Dangkong suddenly said, "Young master, and please show yourself." At that moment, another young man appeared in the living room. He looked to be in his 20s, and he wore a greenish-purple immortal robe. He had the aura of a supreme immortal Tao cultivator. "Greetings, everyone. I am Xianin," the young man introduced himself. The son of the Black Heaven Earth Sect's sect master, Xian and Gu Tanjian, was shocked. "You must be Brother Slashing Sword, aren't you? You have the potential to become an innate saint, aren't you? I know you have the blessing of the Holy Dragon. Why don't you trade it with me?" Xian uncupped his hands. "Oh, young Master Xianin, are you thinking of getting an innate saint to play with?" Gu Tanjian's expression turned to one of amusement. "That's not impossible. I do have some blessing of the Holy Dragon here, which the great spirit god obtained with great difficulty from the Dragon Gate of the Untainted Wilderness. The price isn't cheap." As he spoke, Gu Tanjian had a thought. The Black Heaven Earth sect master had a few sons. The most outstanding one was called Xian Exant, who was also an innate saint. His cultivation was invincible, and he was practically the top cultivator of the immortal Tao's younger generation. He also had countless fortuitous encounters and blessings. Unfortunately, he met the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. The Heavenly Talisman Emperor had entered the Black Heaven Earth sect as a disciple in his youth. This was a secret of the immortal Tao, but many people knew about it. The reason he left the Black Heaven Earth sect was because he had a conflict with the sect master's son, Xian Xian. Later, he beat up the Black Heaven Earth sect's sect master, causing the leader of the immortal Tao to die. Back then, Xian Xian was much more powerful than the current Fa Wuxian. He was born an innate saint, and there were all sorts of strange phenomena in the world. Red clouds rose into the sky, purple clouds soared, and the sound of drums and conches could be heard. Back then, countless immortal Tao experts and some sages were shocked. After Xian Xian was born, his cultivation was indeed invincible, and his luck was extraordinary. No matter what happened, he could turn danger into safety. Even if he was chased by demons, he could still obtain treasures and fortuitous encounters. Even if he was plotted against by sages, he could still survive. Once, the three heavenly venerables felt that if this kid continued to grow, it would be difficult to control him. Thus, they secretly set up many traps. Unfortunately, Xian Xian resolved all of them. Chapter 520. If Heavenly Talisman Emperor didn't kill Xian Xian, there might be one more sage in Heavenly Heaven sect who might even surpass the sage level. If there was only a sage, the three heavenly masters would not have made such a plan. The three heavenly masters had felt the threat from Xian Xian. After Xian Xian's death, Heavenly Heaven sect suffered a great loss of fortune and could barely maintain the first place among the 72 far ancient sections. Therefore, the gap between them and Tai Xian of Tai Fantasy sect had been narrowing. Tai Fantasy sect always wanted to challenge the first place of Heavenly Heaven sect. This time, Tai Xian handed his son Tai Mang Di to Zhuge. It was a good move. Now, Tai Xian Fantasy sect had obtained the Dragon Raising Sutra. Over time, there would be many geniuses in Tai Fantasy sect. Geniuses in a sect were the real middle force. The more geniuses there were, the more powerful the middle force would be, and the stronger the fate of the sect would be. Take Tai Heavenly Palace in Tai Fantasy sect as an instance. It was also a small world which enjoyed the worship and prayers of its disciples. The prayers of one more genius disciple were even more powerful than the prayers of hundreds of ordinary disciples. This was the most important thing. Any clan, any sect, their ancestors' spirits and Dongtian all needed their disciples to pray and offer sacrifices. As the saying went, the major events of a country depended on sacrifices and rites. In a clan, the more prosperous the sacrifices were, the more intense the power of sacrifices would be, and the easier it would be to summon the ancestor spirits. So did Shinmen sect. The power of prayers and sacrifices of talented disciples was of very high quality. Therefore, although the battle strength of talented disciples was a part of the importance, prayers and sacrifices were more important. It was the same in tranquil fairy department. All the disciples had to make a vow every day, which was similar to a sacrifice. This power would be absorbed by the tree of wishes and converted into the world energy to consolidate the ball of people's wishes. Now that Tranquil Fairy Department had obtained the Dragon-Raising Sutra and the Dragon-Making Sutra, all the disciples would be geniuses and unparalleled geniuses. The power of the vow and the vow would be as overwhelming as a tsunami. The vow and the vow of an unparalleled genius were equal to the vow of tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of ordinary people. As for natural-born sages, they could not be described by numbers. Because of this, more than 150,000 cultivators in the lesser divine land were all cultivating the dragon-nurturing mantra. The willpower they provided was endless, causing the power in the sphere to be almost endless. Gu Chunsha looked at Xian deep in his heart. He was thinking about Xian Xian and Gu Tanjin's deal. I must obtain the Holy Dragon's aura. Brother Bouncing Sword, please state your conditions. Xianan's demeanor was elegant and graceful, and Gu Chunsha realized that his cultivation base had reached the 27 transformation, the seamless gap of two realms. Just now, he had used his own magical power to tear through space to appear. Even if Gu Chunsha used his own magical power to deal with him, it wouldn't be easy. Of course, if Gu Chunsha were to channel the heavenly Tao arts into the all-encompassing destruction cudgel and unleash the power of the cudgel that could shatter space, it wouldn't be impossible for him to kill this kid, and he wouldn't even need to use the power of the Life's Wish sphere. If it was Don 19 who wanted to activate the all-encompassing destruction cudgel, he wouldn't be able to use the ability to shatter space because his magical power level wasn't high enough. However, Gu Chincha's heavenly Tao arts could even save sages, and he could even revive the dead Buddhist statue. Using the all-encompassing destruction cudgel to shatter space wasn't difficult at all. The most amazing thing was that if he extracted the power of the world from the Life's Wish sphere and channeled it into the cudgel, Gu Chinsha would be able to fight against a God Realm expert and even destroy a God Realm expert. The battle with the Peerless Heaven book had proven all of this. I need puppets from the Black Heaven and Earth sect. Heaven and Earth divine generals. 360 of them? How about that? Gu Tanjian stretched out a finger. Brother Bouncing Sword, you have a big appetite. Xian An's eyelids twitched. Our Black Heaven and Earth sects Heaven and Earth divine generals are made from green dragon divine wood, Heaven and Earth divine gold, meritorious good water, central earth, and 9 heavenly fire. They were then forged in the Black Heaven and Earth sect for thousands of years. Every Heaven and Earth divine general is of the Vajra level, which is equivalent to a Tao realm 6 transformations altogether expert. I'm afraid it's impossible for you to ask for 360 of them. Although your Heaven and Earth divine generals are of a high level, their quality is far inferior to the general of the Tranquil Deity Department. The general of the common people has 5 levels of the true dragon technique, and all of them can transform into the river of all creation. If they increase their level, they can quickly crush the Heaven and Earth divine generals. My holy dragon blessing is hard to come by. Your Black Heaven and Earth sect can create Heaven and Earth divine generals, but you definitely can't turn your talent into a natural saint, Gu Tanjian said. No, definitely not. Even if I agree, I don't have the authority. Even my father can't. We have to call a meeting of the Grand Elders to make a decision. Xianan said, Brother Flicking Sword, you should know that although I'm the young sect leader, I have many brothers and competitors. Even if I secretly exchange Heaven and Earth divine generals for the Holy Dragon blessing, I'm afraid I'll be punished. Moreover, even if I do it secretly, I can't do it. Since that's the case, we can't talk anymore. Gu Tanjian sighed. The Black Heaven and Earth sect has strict rules. I really admire them. This time, I came down the mountain to help the World Alliance destroy the Tranquil Deity Department and unify the world, Xianan said. I'll take care of the matter of contacting the Celestial Tao. Actually, The Tranquil Deity Department is gathering second and third-rate celestial Tao sects to form an alliance. It's like a rolling snowball. In time, it'll destroy the order of the celestial Tao. I have to take care of it. He didn't mention the Holy Dragon Blessing anymore. However, Gu Chunsha could already tell that this person was secretly discussing with Gu Tanjian. The Holy Dragon Blessing was extremely important to him. Not only could it help him become an innate saint, but it could also help him raise his status in the sect. Once he became an innate saint, he'd be the next successor of the sect. His authority and the resources he'd be able to use wouldn't be comparable to what he had now. Even the three celestial venerables couldn't get their hands on the Holy Dragon Blessing, but the Great Spirit God could. He's so cunning. Gu Chunsha thought of many countermeasures. Do 19 wasn't an innate saint, which meant that the three celestial venerables didn't get their hands on the Holy Dragon Blessing. This Xian is actually helping Wu Dankong. It seems that the Black Heaven and Earth sect leader and the other old antiques are also targeting Wu Dankong's heavenly sacrifice decree, just like the Dharma Saint. With Young Master and contacting us in the Immortal Path, we won't have to worry. We'll definitely be able to destroy the Imperial Eclipse in one strike. Gu Xiansha seemed to see some hope. Very good. Then let's do our jobs. Wu Dankong had already surpassed Gu Tanjian and firmly occupied the position of Heaven Alliance's leader. We can only succeed this time. Defeat is not an option. We'll destroy the Communist Deity Department in one battle and turn the tables. Yes, Alliance leader. At this moment, Xian cupped his hands. Fa Wuxian also cupped his hands. Gu Chensh's Wudong Xing also cooperated. Gu Tanjian's expression was extremely ugly, but there was nothing he could do. Fa Wuxian suddenly dashed out and disappeared. The legalists were in contact with the Dwarf Demon Saint, the Dwarf Death Emperor, and were preparing to activate the Spirit Demon Project. As one of the representatives of the Dharma Saint, Fa Wuxian was the perfect candidate to enter the demon domain. With Xian and persuasion in the Immortal Path, he could definitely pull out many experts to attack the Communist Deity Department. Gu Chensh's Wudong Xing also received a mission, which was to cooperate with the Sun and Moon Department among the people. After the operation was activated, they would arrest all the officials in the world. At the same time, they would destroy the Communist Deity Department's Chamber of Commerce and stores and capture some key figures of the Communist Deity Department, such as Long Yuyun, Yuhan Lu, Long Zaifei, Lu Huayue, Lu Yu, Yiming, Yizheng, Little Ez, and so on. These people were very active in the Communist Deity Department. After these people left, Gu Qinsha stayed. He seemed to have something to say to Wu Dankong. Wudong Xing, why didn't you complete the mission I gave you? Why are you still here? What are you trying to do? Wu Dankong frowned. Wu Dankong, you and I are both members of the Wu clan. We are of equal seniority. I am also the envoy of the 9 old ancestors. I am here to keep an eye on you, to prevent you from doing anything harmful to the Wu clan. Now that there are only the 2 of us left, it is time to lay our cards on the table, Gu Chunsha said fiercely. Lay our cards on the table? Wu Dankong laughed coldly. What are you trying to do? Lay our cards on the table? Also, since you are here, I really have some things to ask you. Why are you colluding with Gu Tanjian? What are your intentions? Also, who are you hugging? Gu Tanjian looks so serious. It seems like the powerful being behind you can really contend against the Dharma Saint. You did all these behind the back of the Wu clan's 9 old ancestors. You even came into contact with a martial emperor and obtained benefits from him, but you did not tell the old ancestors. Why are you here to supervise me? All right, we are both members of the Wu clan. This time, there is no need for us to attack each other. Instead, we will help each other. First, we will destroy the Communist Fairy Agency and obtain the benefits. We cannot let Gu Tanjian have the common people's wish sphere, the heavenly demon tree, and many other treasures. Gu Chunsha began to speak glibly again. What do you think? Wu Dankong asked. Regardless of whether it is Xian or Fa Wuxian, the big shots behind them are all scheming for your heaven sacrifice decree. You should know this very well, Gu Chunsha said. I think you are even more vicious than them. You actually want to ally with Gu Tanjian and caused the martial emperor and the Wu clan's old ancestors to suffer great losses. Then, you will obtain a great opportunity. If I tell the 9 old ancestors about this, what do you think will happen to you? Wu Dangkong had something on Wudong Xing. Chapter 521. You know quite a lot, but that's not a good thing for you. Wu Dongkong's tone was even colder. It seemed like she didn't like people knowing her secrets. At this moment, she wanted to kill Wu Dangxing. In the Wu clan, Wu Dangxing was just like Fa Wuxian, arrogant and unruly, and had offended many people. However, he wasn't as arrogant as Fa Wuxian. He was still very respectful to the old antiques of the sect, which was why the old antiques had trained him this time. With Gu Chinch's intelligence, pretending to be Wu Dangxing would be able to trick more than half of the treasures in the Martial Saints' Grotto Heaven. You want to kill me already? Unfortunately, I'm telling the truth, and my deal is very beneficial to you. Gu Chansha cackled. If you want to improve further, you have to work with me, and you might even be able to break free from Xing Qiong's control. Wu Dangxing, when did you get this kind of ability? Boasting shamelessly? Wu Dangkong didn't believe him at all. You could trick a fool like Gu Tanjian, but you can't trick me. Do you really think I'll believe you? Is that so? Gu Chansha waved her hand slightly, and as she circulated her magic power, an image of the divine continent appeared in front of her. It was ever-changing from ancient times to modern times, the fluctuations of the divine continent, the network of heaven and earth, the center of latitude and longitude. Everything was there. Even some of the treasures on Wu Dongkong's body reacted. This is... Wu Dongkong's eyes almost fell out of her head. The impact on her was incomparably great. This is the divine continent grand magic. That's right, the divine continent grand magic. Gu Qinsha was trying to lure Wu Dangkong into taking the bait. Wu Dangkong had obtained many of Xing Qiong's treasures, but she didn't know the divine continent grand magic, so she couldn't use it. Xing Qiong must have been wary of Wu Dangkong, which was why she hadn't taught it to her. Although the two were working together, they were both wary of each other and feigned civility. How could you possibly know the great law of divine land? Wu Dangkong still couldn't believe it. So be it. Gu Qinsha sneered. This is my secret. Do you believe that I can help you now? If you learn the divine continent's great technique, you'll probably be able to break free from the Xing Qiong clan's control and obtain a completely different situation. What do you want? How to teach me the great law of divine land? At this time, Wu Dangkong calmed down. She suddenly moved. An array of light enveloped the whole room. Gu Chinch's heart stirred. He could feel the power of the sacrificial talisman. Wu Dangkong is already able to unleash the profundities of the sacrificial talisman. Gu Chinch's heart skipped a beat. No wonder she was able to block out some of the Xing Qiong clan's prying eyes. What? You want to fight with me and snatch the divine continent's law by force? Gu Chinch's expression changed. Since you have such a powerful being behind you, why would I act rashly? Wu Dongkong's expression was indifferent. What do you want? Speak. Let's make a deal. I heard that you have the divine continent's ominous armor, the 10 ominous armor, the 100 ominous armor, and the 1,000 ominous armor. Gu Qinsha said, the ominous armor is equivalent to a 9 transformations glass jade body expert. The 10 ominous armor is equivalent to a great Tao golden core expert. The 100 ominous armor is an immortal body, and the 1,000 ominous armor is equivalent to a divine realm expert. I don't ask for much. Give me the 1,000 ominous armor, and I'll teach you the divine continent's great technique. Ha! Wu Dangkong laughed. You think that's not asking for much? The divine prefecture 1,000 fiends armor is the product of the Xing Qiong clan's blood, sweat, and tears. In the past, they killed countless experts among the immortal fiends, fiend immortals, and fiend immortals. The Xing Qiong clan used the divine prefecture's fiendish aura and the power of the myriad realms to forge this armor. He only managed to forge a few sets, and I only managed to obtain 1 set. Now, you want me to give you mine? Your appetite is a little too big. You only have one set. Gu Qinsha had figured out Wu Dongkong's background. I thought the Xingqiong clan would give you one set of the 1,000 ominous armor and several sets of the 1,000 ominous armor. It seems they aren't generous enough. How about this? I'll give you the 100 ominous armor. Once you wear it, you'll have an immortal body of 25 transformations. What do you think? Wu Dongkong bargained. People say that if you ask for a sky-high price, you'll have to pay on the spot. That's how business is. There's nothing wrong with that, but your price is a little too high. I have my own treasures, such as the Thunder Slayer sword. After activating it, I can kill an immortal body expert. Even if I have the 100 ominous armor, it won't be of much help to me. It won't be able to increase my battle prowess. But you, with the Divine Continent's great technique, you'll be able to activate the 1,000 ominous armor, and your strength will be equivalent to a Divine Realm expert. How about this? I'll settle for the next best thing. 360 sets of the 100 ominous armor, and I'll teach you the Divine Continent's great technique. What do you think? Gu Qinsha had his own plans. He knew that Wu Dongkong had the Divine Continent's 1,000 ominous armor. That armor would be the main reason they fought. Gu Qinsha had witnessed the ferocity of the Divine Continent's 1,000 ominous armor with his own eyes. However, that armor had its own weakness. It had its own consciousness and was completely a Divine Realm expert. It wouldn't listen to Jiang Qi's words. Similarly, if Wu Dongkong activated the Divine Continent's 1,000 ominous armor and awakened the origin spirit within, the armor wouldn't be under her control. Instead, it would restrict her. However, if the origin spirit within the armor was destroyed, the armor wouldn't be able to display its divine might. It would require a huge amount of power to activate. For example, the all-form shattering cudgel in Gu Qinsha's hands. The origin spirit within it had long dissipated. It might have fallen during the many great tribulations. It could also be that after the legalists obtained the cudgel, they extracted and refined the origin spirit, fusing it into all the Dharma realms. If the cudgel had an origin spirit, it would be equivalent to a disobedient divine realm expert. If Gu Qinsha obtained the Divine Continent's 1,000 ominous armor, he would also need to refine the origin spirit. He might even let the entire armor be devoured by the Tree of Desire. In that case, the Tree of Desire would be equivalent to devouring a true god. The benefits would be unimaginable. After devouring the Divine Continent's 1,000 ominous armor, the Tree of Desire would even condense the embryonic form of a god of desire. Furthermore, this newly born god of desire would be completely obedient to the will of the Tree of Desire's owner. In that case, it could be said that the appearance of a divine realm expert within the life's wish sphere would have a huge impact on the upcoming situation. It was the same when he obtained the peerless heavenly scripture. At the same time, Gu Qinsha could guess that Wu Dongkong was also thinking of the same thing. The ritual of sun and moon had a sacrificial method. It could use the power of the heavenly Tao to refine the origin spirit of a divine weapon. However, that kind of sacrificial method was extremely huge. The souls and flesh it required far exceeded the ritual of the Guardian King or the Grotto Heaven. Apart from that, it even required the Emperor's aura. 360 sets of the Divine Continent's 1,000 ominous armor. Wu Dongkong sneered even more coldly. I myself only have 3 sets of this armor. If I had 360 sets of this armor, do you think I would allow the general of the Tranquil Immortal Department to strut around like this? Then there's nothing to talk about. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. If you want to obtain the Divine Continent's great technique, why would I give it to you if you can't pay the price? Although the Divine Continent's great technique is exquisite, it's not very useful to me. Wu Dongkong's eyes flickered. Although I have the Divine Continent's 1,000 Fiends armor, even if I learn the Divine Continent's great technique, I won't be able to control the ferocious spirit within it. When the time comes, I'll be suppressed by the armor instead. The gains won't make up for the losses. Therefore, it's impossible for you to use the Divine Continent's great technique to exchange for a large amount of benefits from me. Since you've already put it that way, there's no need for us to continue our transaction. Gu Qinsha had long seen through Wu Dongkong's background. She had a deep desire for the divine continent's great technique. She had obtained many of the Xing Qiong clan's treasures, but she couldn't unleash the full power of many of them. If she could learn the divine continent's great technique, then everything would be easily solved. How about this? You and I will join hands and activate the secret technique together to purify the divine continent's thousand fiends armor. Wu Dangkong said, "This armor is a ferocious spirit. Even if it's activated, it will definitely be rebellious and will definitely bite back at me. However, if you and I can use some methods to control this armor, then it'll be equivalent to having an obedient divine realm expert. It'll only be a matter of time before we conquer the world." You want to subdue a divine realm expert? Gu Qinsha waved her hand dismissively. If you're a saint, then that might be possible. But you're not. With our current cultivation, subduing a divine weapon with an origin spirit is just wishful thinking. That might not be the case. I have the heavenly sacrificial talisman in hand. There's nothing I can do. I've already comprehended the profoundness of this talisman, and I can use it to unleash all sorts of methods. This talisman is a treasure that's as famous as the desolate Dragon's Gate. It far surpasses the Black Gate of heaven and earth. If it unleashes its full power, even all the treasures of the immortal Tao's 72 profound gates combined wouldn't be a match for it. It can suppress all living things in the world. Wu Dangkong said coldly, "Wu Dangkong, don't think that you're bargaining with me here. In reality, if I wanted to kill you, all I need to do is activate this talisman's light, and I'll turn you into ashes." Wu Dangkong, don't be an alarmist. Gu Qinsha had long since noticed some clues. How would you know what kind of foundation I have? Why don't you think about where I obtained the divine prefecture's great technique? Why is it that even the great spirit god is afraid of the existence behind me? Don't you use your brain? With such arrogance and conceit, it's no wonder that you were forced into retreat by the Celestial Commerce Bureau. Your reputation among the people is so bad that you earned the title of concubine treacherous. As he spoke, Gu Qinsha moved slightly and escaped the range of the light. This time Wu Dangkong was truly shocked. You were actually able to escape the range of this light. Just what kind of methods did you obtain? Would I tell you such a secret? Gu Qinsha could already tell that Wu Dangkong had activated the divine light of the sun and moon shining together. This technique had been amplified by the sun and moon's sacrificial altar in the heavenly sacrificial talisman, and its power had increased by 10 times. However, he had just mastered the sun and moon shining together. Apart from that, he had also cultivated the heavenly Tao's technique, which made him a part of the heavenly Tao. The power of the heavenly Tao that the heavenly sacrificial talisman communicated with naturally couldn't harm him. Everyone else was afraid of Wu Dangkong, but he wasn't. In fact, he could even restrain himself. Chapter 522. Wu Dangkong, do you think you're the only one who had a fortuitous encounter? Gu Qinsha came out and let out a long howl. Little do you know, the times have changed. In today's world, geniuses are emerging in large numbers. 100 flowers are blooming. 100 schools of thought contend for supremacy. Even if you obtain the heaven's sacrificial talisman, you might not be invincible in the world and lead the heroes. Moreover, there were many ancient heavenly sons who obtained the heaven sacrificial talisman, but none of them were invincible. Even now, I have to admit that you, Wu Dangxing, are qualified to speak to me on equal terms. I'm not trying to be mysterious. Wu Dangkong's shock had reached its peak. In that instant, a vicious plan formed in her mind. Consider my suggestion carefully. We'll expiate the divine continent 1,000 murderous armor together. We can each control half of the armor's power. What do you think? How do we expiate it? I want to hear the specific plan. Gu Qinsha naturally wanted to obtain Wu Dangkong's 1,000 murderous armor. After a series of probing with this woman, Gu Chunsha already knew that Wu Dongkong's 1,000 murderous armor was in a dormant state, and this woman didn't dare to activate it for fear of losing control. This way, Gu Chunsha would have a good chance. If he could get his hands on the armor, he would immediately escape and send it into the life's wish sphere for the tree of desire to absorb. It's good that the armor is in a dormant state. Gu Chunsha's heart thumped. If it's an awakened armor, I'm afraid it won't be easy for me to obtain it. Based on his battle experience with the peerless heavenly book, the divine continent 1,000 murderous armor was no weaker than the peerless heavenly book. In fact, it might even be slightly stronger. Of course, the peerless heavenly book had been heavily injured, and it wasn't meant for battle. Instead, it was meant for calculation, storage, brewing, and nurturing. The divine continent 1,000 murderous armor was created for battle. Furthermore, if it was an awakened armor, even if Gu Chunsha used the power of the sphere to suppress it, it would still attract the attention of the Xingqiang clan. At that time, he would only end up worse off. Without an awakened armor, things would be much easier. This is the current state of the divine land 1,000 murderous armor. As Wu Dongkong waved his hand, a beam of light appeared. Within the light, a space appeared. Gu Chunsha saw the familiar sun-moon altar. On top of the altar, a suit of armor wrapped in light appeared. The majesty of the altar became even more intense. I used the Son of Heaven's God-sealing art's sun-moon seal and borrowed the power of the sun-moon altar to suppress this armor. After that, I used the sun-moon refinement technique to slowly refine this armor for my own use. The effects are minuscule, but with the suppression of the sun-moon altar, even a fiendish god would have to kneel before me. Wu Dongkong had no idea what kind of deal he had made with the Xingqiang clan to actually obtain this armor. As Gu Chunsha watched, his expression became more and more serious. What the hell is going on? Wu Dongkong noticed that something was wrong with Wu Dongxing's expression. You fell for Xingqiang clan's trap, Gu Chunsha said. What kind of person is Xingqiang clan? He gave you this armor, but didn't teach you the divine land's grand magic. His goal was simple. He wanted you to use the sun-moon altar to refine the armor. On the surface, it looked like you were slowly refining it, but in reality, you were absorbing the altar's power to temper your vital body. He wanted Xingqiang clan to obtain the true secrets of the heaven's sacrifice decree. Think about it. Xingqiang clan killed the ancient emperor and has been besieged for years. He's suffered countless losses because of the decree and has a much deeper understanding of it than you do. Why would he let you refine the armor for nothing? It's very likely that he planted a pawn in the armor, waiting for the right moment to seize the decree. Now that heaven and earth have changed, the decree must have changed as well. Think about it, the Dharma Saint and the sect leader of the Black Heaven and Earth sect are plotting something. Xingqiang clan might be plotting something as well. As Gu Chunsha spoke, he did his best to exaggerate and exaggerate. Hearing this, Wu Dongkong's face paled. Most importantly, Gu Chunsha's deduction was very reasonable. When it came to scheming, Wu Dongkong couldn't compare to Xingqiang clan, the king of oddities. Xingqiang clan is very ambitious. Gu Chunsha continued. I'm afraid he wants to take advantage of the heaven and earth changes to obtain the decree and refine it into his body. That way, he will truly become the strongest person in the world. From then on, he will be invincible and kill 3 heavenly sovereigns. Don't look at me like that. The information I know was told to me by the existence behind me. Then what do you mean? That I'm in great danger right now? Wu Dongkong's tone softened. She was no longer arrogant. Of course, she also wanted to learn more secrets from Wu Dongxing. You're a piece of juicy meat right now. Many powerhouses are ready to tear you off at any time. Gu Chunsha's tongue was even sharper than Zhu Bi's. In any case, that's all I have to say. Since we're all from the Wu clan, I wanted to get my hands on your armor. But now, it seems like it's very dangerous. Xingqiang clan won't let his plan fail. If I join hands with you, I'll lose my life as well. He was using the art of capturing the masses. I don't think you'll speak without thinking. You must have some tricks up your sleeve. Wu Dongkong spoke. Speak, what are you going to do? Then listen to me, Gu Qinsha said. If we want to deal with the armor, we must borrow a knife. Borrow what knife? Wu Dangkong asked. Of course, it's the martial emperor and the Wu clan's knife. Gu Qinsha said. In short, it's impossible for you to refine the Thousand Fiends armor. The Wu clan has 9 high god experts and the power of the martial saint's paradise. You can offer the armor to the Wu clan's old antiques in exchange for other treasures. This way, the Wu clan's 9 high god experts will gather their strength to refine the armor. But if they do that, they'll be going against the Xing Qiong clan. I'll also look for the martial emperor and use the opportunity to have him invade the martial saint's paradise. If we do it well, the 3 sides will suffer great losses. We'll be able to reap the benefits and take control of the martial saint's paradise. How about it? Think about it. You don't actually have the Wu clan support. But if you take control of the martial saint's paradise, what will happen to your forces? Also, if our plan succeeds, the 9 high god experts will be integrated into the martial saint's paradise. The martial emperor will be integrated into it, and even the Xing Qiong clans will be integrated into it. At that time, the martial saint's paradise will be able to resist all Dharma realms, and you'll be the ruler of the paradise. Then, you can use the heaven sacrificial talisman to suppress the entire paradise. Wouldn't that be perfect? Hearing Gu Qinsha's words, Wu Dangkong fell silent. She was thinking about the feasibility of this plan. Gu Qinsha continued. The key to this plan is the control of the martial saint's paradise. Right now, the martial saint's paradise is in the hands of the 9 high god experts. If you take the divine continent fiend's armor and the heaven sacrificial talisman and exchange it with the 9 old antiques, they'll definitely give up a portion of the control and let you become the 10th controller. That's because the 9 old antiques need the heaven sacrificial talisman. In the future, they'll worship it to increase their lifespan and even obtain godhood. As long as you obtain the 10th controller, everything will be easy. If the 9 old antiques die, won't you monopolize all the power? Wu Dangkong, your plan is quite feasible. Wu Dangkong thought for a long time, and her eyes flickered. What are you plotting? Of course, I want half of the control of the martial saint's paradise, and I'll split it with you. Gu Qinsha smiled. My plan has always been like this. I'm a member of the Wu clan, and I must obtain the martial saint's paradise. What did the Wu clan's 9 old antiques do to you? You actually used such a sinister scheme? Wu Dangkong asked. It's very simple. I feel that the 9 old antiques don't have a plan, and they don't have a grand plan. They even control the martial saint's paradise's resources and won't be enough to deal with the upcoming calamity. Gu Qinsha spoke with a strong sense of righteousness. You don't know how terrifying the upcoming calamity is. If the 9 old antiques continue to be mediocre, I'm afraid our Wu clan's disciples will become slaves. It won't be a day or two since the legalists wanted to destroy our Wu clan. The 9 old antiques are indeed mediocre and mediocre. They can't bring about earth-shattering changes to the Wu clan. If this calamity continues, the Wu clan will be in danger. You see, the legalist Dharma saint has appeared and is scheming everywhere. Meanwhile, the legalists have already colluded with the demon race and signed the spirit demon plan. What is the Wu clan doing? They clearly know that I'm fated, but they don't support me. Instead, they wait and see. There are even people from the Wu clan who want to capture me and force me to hand over the heaven sacrifice decree. Gu Qinsha's words were exactly what Wu Dangkong wanted. Wu Dangkong was originally dissatisfied with the Wu clan's old antiques. Back then, King Wu Yu had sent her into the palace. She would never forget such a great humiliation. Although she had obtained many benefits after entering the palace, she still hated the Wu clan more and more. It was precisely because of this that the Wu clan didn't support her. Gu Qinsha had already seen through this contradiction. Therefore, he started to magnify this contradiction in his words. Furthermore, he was speaking the truth. The Wu clan's old ancestor divine experts were indeed not thinking about improving. Up until now, they hadn't activated any grand plans to deal with the upcoming calamity. Meanwhile, the legalist plans were much more far-reaching. Using this as an excuse, Gu Qinsha knew that Wu Dangkong would definitely be moved. As expected, Wu Dangkong was moved. What role will you play in this plan? Wu Dangkong said. Also, I'm afraid it will be more dangerous to lure in a martial emperor. After all, there will be an additional variable. My role is extremely important. It's to communicate in all directions. Furthermore, at the most crucial moment, I can use my trump cards to control the situation. I have an extremely powerful talisman with me. As he spoke, Gu Qinsha released a bit of his aura. It was the talisman that Wen Hong, Tai Xuandu, and Chang Weiyang had refined. It had been refined by Gu Qinsha using the heavenly law technique day and night, becoming extremely wondrous. This talisman was one of Gu Qinsha's trump cards. As expected, you have extremely powerful means. Wu Dangkong sensed the majestic power that tore through the air, making her feel suffocated. She immediately stopped hesitating and said, "You have to explain clearly the factor of a martial emperor. This plan cannot tolerate any negligence." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.